A few months ago, the Avengers held an internal meeting, mainly discussing a long-ago plan. To be precise, this is not an independent plan, but a supplement to the Avengers plan, Young Avengers. A long time ago in the era of S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury had this idea when he formed the Avengers, but it has been delayed. Not every Avenger has a long lifespan, and most Avengers will grow old and retire. The role of the Young Avengers is to train a group of talents who are likely to become Avengers in advance, and get exercised and grown by dealing with relatively simple super ability incidents. When the time comes for the Avengers to retire, they can be replenished directly from the Young Avengers ranks. It is worth mentioning that the original Little Spider-Man Peter Parker was a member of the default Young Avengers, and Stark began to pay attention to him very early on. However, during the Infinity War, Peter Parker stepped forward to participate in this war regardless of his young, and now he is already a real Avenger. The Young Avengers training base is divided into two parts. One is the Avengers base on the coast of New York, and the other is New Asgard. Most of them are in the Avengers base, accepting the guidance of the older generation of Avengers like Rhodes and Falcon. A small number of better seedlings will be brought to New Asgard if the other party is willing. In fact, they are all willing. After all, Thor is the most capable of fighting among all the Avengers. It's just that the basic conditions of the New Asgard island must be met. Your Highness. Walking into the gate of the castle, 2 rows of brave soldiers in silver and white battle armor nodded to Thor. Here it is, Valkyrie. When I got Valkyrie's soul back from Hela, it was delayed because I didn't have time to deal with one thing after another. In the past 5 years, Thor has already resurrected those dead heroic spirits into his own warriors. They are real fighters, they are meticulous in everything, and once they decide who to follow, they will not change until death. Even in the face of Hela, who has a murderous revenge, they still restrained their emotions in order not to embarrass Thor. Definitely, Thor's reconciliation with Hela brought their relief, and they knew it. Well, part of the reason why Hela's room is number 404 is that Thor considered their emotions. The surviving Valkyrie of Sakaar is not included. Because of so many years of drunkenness, her state is actually no longer suitable for being a warrior. It just so happens that the various exchanges and cooperation between Thor and Gao Tianjun require a chief executive to stay in Sakaar for a long time, and she is the best candidate. The Valkyrie in the castle here are all former war decedents. They are elegant and beautiful, heroic and powerful. The only downside is that they are too serious. Fortunately, it's only during the day. When I came to the training ground, Natalia was already waiting here. Behind her, there are 3 girls aged 17 or 18, who seem to be high school students. They are good seedlings among the first batch of potential Young Avengers. Let me introduce it briefly. Natalia pointed to the girl on the far left and said, "This girl's name is Gwen Stacy. Half a month ago, she was accidentally bitten by a strange spider. I am slowly awakening super ability." Well, the type of ability is a bit like Peter Parker. I heard that he was also bitten by a spider. Wait. Thor looked strange. What does it mean for a girl to step on the new island of Asgard? Even if everything is normal, there will be many people dreaming. It can be said that those who are willing to come to the new Asgard island instead of staying in the Avengers base, in fact, have a high degree of favorability for Thor, or originally they are fans of Thor. What's wrong? Natalia asked in confusion when she saw his strange expression. What Thor is thinking now is, did he cheat Peter Parker in some way? Although he doesn't know it yet. But after thinking about it, the Spider-Man in this world has a rather strange taste, similar to Bruce Banner. He likes the Black Sister, just like he is now obsessed with MJ. However, these words are not suitable to be said directly. Thor changed the subject casually. I was thinking, first Peter Parker, then Gwen Stacy. What kind of spider is so powerful, since 2 Avengers have been bitten out? Glancing at Natalia, Thor quipped. Could it be a widow? Bang. Natalia's hand fell on Thor's face. The 3 girls were stunned and witnessed the person they admired the most powerful Avenger, the hero who defeated Thanos, suffered domestic violence, and suddenly felt like their idols collapsed. I heard that Black Widow is Russian, right? The rate of domestic violence in that place seems to be quite high. A girl with white hair said weakly. Gwen Stacy nodded. You guessed it right, they are actually men who are raped by women. Felicia Hardy was born in Queens, New York. His father, Walter Hardy, is a salesman on the surface, but in fact he is a robber civet. There is a pattern in the records of S.H.I.E.L.D. The widow sister, who had vented a wave, was refreshed and her mood brightened a lot. Although it hit Thor's steel body, there was nothing wrong with it, but my own hand hurt. It was this white-haired girl she was introducing now. Thor was stunned for a while before he remembered this character who only appeared in comics. From my impression, it seems to be Spider-Man's partner too, right? Well, a moment of silence for little Spider-Man. At a university in New York, Peter Parker suddenly sneezed. Peter, what's the matter with you? MJ asked with concern. Oh, it's okay. Little Spider-Man muttered with a puzzled look on his face. I always feel a kind of inexplicable malice. Shaking his head, shaking his strange thoughts out of his head, he lowered his head and stared at MJ and said, MJ, I have something that I have always wanted to tell you, but I have never had the courage to say it. I am worried that once I say it, even our friends there is nothing to do. Now, I have finally decided, and I must tell you that You're Spider-Man, right? MJ interrupted his affectionate confession. How do you know? Peter Parker's heart is bleeding, but he has finally mustered up the courage. She has extraordinary balance, flexibility and strength, and has rich hand-to-hand combat experience. At the same time, she is fully capable of being a gymnast and acrobat with a super high level. The widow continued to introduce him. Thor recalled the girl's information in his memory, and suddenly said, Little girl, I think you still have something to say? Huh. Natalia's eyes sharpened, and her lazy expression disappeared in an instant. She was like a leopard ready to go, ready to tear apart the target in front of her at any time. Felicia shuddered and turned pale. Okay, you scared him, not what you thought. Thor chuckled and pulled Natalia. Everyone has their own secrets, as long as they don't have bad intentions, it's fine, I just a casual mention. Natalia glared at him. If it wasn't for the cute little girl you would be so easy to talk to? Felicia hesitated, and gritted her teeth. I'm sorry, I'm just worried about exposing someone's covetousness, I didn't hide it on purpose. But if it's you, it shouldn't matter. Natalia came to nature and continued to listen to her. I used to be injected with super soldier serum. What? Impossible. Natalia's eyes widened and her face questioned. The super soldier serum has long been out of print, so there is only one Captain America. The last tube of serum that year was smashed to pieces. Thor waved his hand, gesturing for her to continue. Many years ago, when Captain America was undergoing an experiment, when everyone was concentrating on whether it was successful, a child had sneaked into the laboratory and recorded all the experimental equations and serum formulas. He was me. Father. For so many years, my father has kept his name incognito, and he has kept his secret until today. He even took the initiative to be arrested by S.H.I.E.L.D. In his opinion, that is the safest place, but he did not expect to be discovered by someone with a heart. For my safety, my father did not reveal his relationship with me, but just injected me with serum so that I can protect myself. Thor nodded, the plot almost matched. As for the forces that have been searching for them, it is mainly Hydra and Jinbin. Hydra is already cold, as for Jinbin, he can handle it by saying hello. Super soldier serum is worth fighting for mortals, but it is not attractive for me. Okay. Now that you have set foot on this island, all your worries will no longer exist. Thor comforted her and looked at the last girl. He noticed that the girl had calluses on her hands. Her name is Kate Bishop. I happened to meet her in the park. She was attacked and I rescued her. After that, she became interested in superheroes. Not only did she start to learn archery and all kinds of melee combat skills, and even fighting abilities such as swordsmanship have not been spared. Speaking of which, she shrugged. Unexpectedly, she is amazing in fighting skills, especially in shooting. If she is trained well, she may be the next Barton. Definitely ability is good, otherwise how can I become the second-generation Hawkeye? Thor complained silently, and asked, but, shouldn't Barton be the most suitable teacher for her? A trace of embarrassment appeared on Natalia's face. That's what you said, but Barton refused, saying that he is focusing on training his own daughter now, and he doesn't have much time to take another apprentice, especially a female apprentice. This is definitely an excuse, Wanger also guessed. Archery is different from other skills. Training often requires hands-on, ear-to-eye contact, which is prone to a lot of intimate contact, so it is rarely taught by the opposite sex. It's fine to teach my daughter. Barton Agent is a good man, he has no face to eat young grass. It makes sense to find myself, after all, Thor was a dog on the European battlefield back then. By the way, isn't he a man too? Natalia saw what he was thinking, and gave him a hard look. Don't think about it, I finally found a few good seedlings, I didn't ask you to sneak into the rules. Fair. Widow sister, is it really okay for you to be like this? Doesn't your conscience ache for slandering me like this? Puff. Seeing Thor's embarrassment, the three little girls couldn't help laughing. Sister Natalia. After the three girls were arranged, Wanda stopped her at the door. Why do you always like to tear down His Highness's platform today? You even started fighting in front of others. On weekdays, when there are outsiders, Natalia always behaves like an elegant lady. Natalia squinted at her, couldn't help smiling, and explained, our Lord Thor is an old scumbag, and he takes people home when he disagrees. These girls all adore him to the core. What's the point? I deliberately collapsed their idol image. Otherwise, no matter how many rooms there are in the castle, it won't be long enough to live in. Wanda immediately bowed down in admiration. As expected of an agent, she was thinking too much, and she launched the palace fighting technique without a sound. At night, the three girls sleep in one room. Well, they don't have private rooms. I always thought that the famous Lord Thor was aloof, but I didn't expect to see him today, so he has this side too. Gwen Stacy sighed. People who used to think there were two worlds, but today they discovered that superhero is not that far away from us. This is Kate Bishop. Suddenly I feel that His Highness Thor is much more friendly. Felicia's eyes kept rolling. The other two said in unison. If Natalia heard their conversation, she might spurt blood. When everyone was laughing and laughing, no one thought that the crisis was about to envelope the world again. On a distant remote planet, several strange-looking aliens are manipulating a huge machine with strange shapes. 5 years ago, their design was successful, but at that time it was not time to act, and rash actions would only destroy the layout. To be on the safe side, they decided to wait. And now, the time is coming. Papa Papa. A series of buttons were tapped, and the last leader held the main valve and pushed it forward, and the dazzling light suddenly illuminated the entire sky. If it weren't for the fact that this is a remote planet with no human habitation, I'm afraid many people would have noticed the abnormality here. The center of the machine is gradually opened, getting bigger and bigger. Boom. An extremely huge spaceship roared out of it and flew straight into the sky. In the command room on the spacecraft, a burly purple figure looked at this brand new universe. Both Thanos and Thor have underestimated the enemy. Thanos thought that his attack was so sudden that the unaware Avengers would be caught off guard and would suffer heavy losses in the first wave of attack, and there would be no ability to resist again. And Thor's underestimation of the enemy is that, in his vision, the opponent of this war is only Thanos from 2014. On the nearest planet near the Titan star, a team of magicians are carving textures. If you look carefully, you will find that these magicians are all dark circles, shaped like ghosts. They are not pure magicians, but fallen ones who have absorbed the energy of the dark dimension. This planet, after several years of transformation, has been covered with all kinds of magic circles, and it can even be said that the entire planet is a huge amounts of magic circle. You're done. As the last stroke was drawn, the magicians breathed a sigh of relief, and looked at Serta lurking in the sky in the distance. Since the destruction of Titan 5 years ago, Serta has been wandering aimlessly there, as if lost in purpose. The magicians looked at each other, and then shot at the same time, one after another magic lightning bombarded away. Boom. To Speedtell, this damage was no different from a mosquito bite, but it was enough to let it know that someone was attacking it. Roar. With an angry roar, the violent flame giant came towards them. The leading magician didn't panic. This was their goal. Immediately drove the sling ring, drew a portal, stepped into it together, and instantly came to a spaceship that had been prepared a long time ago. Suddenly losing the target, Serta rage was insane. Looking at the planet in front of him, raised the twilight sword high, and stabbed at the planet's core. Boom. Huge amounts of roars sounded, and the planet shattered. At the same time, the magic circles all over the planet lit up at the same time, and the dazzling light enveloped Serta's huge body. Roar. Serta struggled frantically in the light. On the spaceship in the distance, the fallen ones watched this scene frantically. This is a super transfer circle, the fruit of their painstaking efforts for several years. For an existence of Serta's level, ordinary magicians really don't have the ability to teleport. At this moment, many fallen people froze all of a sudden, and then let out extremely shrill screams. Ah! Dark runes are displayed on their bodies, with the heart as the center, connecting the meridians of the whole body. The body began to twitch violently, and the dark energy they had received, together with their life and magic power, gathered together and were stripped along the dark rune on their chest. Ah! The huge energy left the body, and these fallen people suddenly aged and died at a speed visible to the naked eye, and turned into mummies in an instant. The power of darkness seems to be powerful, but it is never one's own power. Even if it can benefit for a while, there will always be a price to pay. Not to mention these degenerates, even Caecilius, who once killed the Ancient One for Dormammu, destroyed the 3 holy places, and greeted its arrival, was still relentless when he was sold, and turned them into his own as soon as the terms were negotiated. Part. Dormammu has never been a good man and a faithful woman. On Serta's side, with the sacrifices of these fallen ones, the energy of the magic circle instantly became stronger several times, completely covering Serta. With a final roar, Serta's figure disappeared in place, leaving only the remains of the broken planet, proving everything that happened here. Outside Asgard's atmosphere, the sky suddenly split open, and 10 huge flame giants emerged from it. Even the sacrifice of a large number of fallen people still cannot directly transmit a powerful being like Serta to Asgard. But this distance is enough. Surta is very sensitive to Asgard's breath. It immediately turned to Asgard's direction and rushed. I am the end of Asgard. With an extremely arrogant roar, Surta rushed straight down. The moment Surta appeared, Asgard had already reacted, and a shrill siren sounded. A golden stream of light rushed up to the sky and hit Surta's neck, causing it to stagger abruptly. Surta stopped, grabbed Carol like a chicken, and threw her out with a flick of his hand. At the same time, several huge spikes condensed with a strong death breath pierced into its chest. Hela made a move. Roar, why is this big guy here again? Down below, Loki yelled frantically. Damn it, it must not land or we're all doomed. Heimdall reminded at the right time. Your Highness, we should report to His Majesty the King and let him make a decision. If there is really no solution, just like 5 years ago, Temple Bifrost will send it away. Hong Kong Holy Place, one of the 3 holy places in Khmer Taj. 5 years ago, this place was destroyed together with the holy place in London at the beginning of Infinity War. If the Avengers did not desperately defend the last holy place in New York, the appearance of Dormammu would definitely disrupt all rhythms, and even the outcome of Infinity War would be unpredictable. A man in green robe with a ghostly face stepped into the holy place. Under normal circumstances, it is difficult for ordinary people to enter the holy place. The magicians have arranged a lot of protection. Even if the holy place is in the city, it will still not be disturbed by ordinary people. Forcibly entering the holy place means invading. A large number of magicians reacted, and when they cast their spells with their hands, they condensed magic weapons and rushed towards the green-robed man. But it's clear they're no match. When Fatty Wong arrived, the magicians had already fallen to the ground. Looking at the green-robed man, Fatty Wong said heartbrokenly, I've been unwilling to believe that Strange said you betrayed, because you were once one of the teacher's most promising disciples. Tell me why you did this, Mordo. At the end of Fatty Wang's speech, his tone was almost roaring. I'm not betraying. The man in green robe, it shouldn't be Modu, said seriously. I'm just bringing this chaotic world back on track. Modu said in a deep voice. You know, after I left that year, I spent several months roaming the world. I finally understood where the problem in this world lies. Then there are too many magicians. Fatty Wong yelled. So, this is why you collude with Dormammu. Do you know what the consequences will be? The world will be plunged into darkness. Modu sneered. Really? But what's wrong with that? The darkness is not as scary as you imagined. He, our great teacher, Ancient One, while admonishing people to be vigilant against the darkness, he himself received the power of Dormammu. Fatty Wong was furious. It's useless to talk too much. As long as I'm here today, you don't want to get what you want, don't think about it. I'm afraid you can't help it. Modu sneered and rushed forward, fighting into a ball. The battle lasted only half an hour. Modu was once one of the best disciples of Ancient One, second only to Strange. Fatty Wong was not his opponent at all. What's more, now that Mordo has accepted Dormammu's power, even Strange may not be able to stop him. I won't kill you, I will let you take a good look, who is right. After Modu said this to Fatty Wong, who was lying on the ground, he turned around and left. Boom, a few minutes later, Hong Kong Holy Place was destroyed again. At the same time, a group of fallen people attacked the Holy Place in London. No fighting broke out. When they rushed into the gate of the Holy Place, the magicians inside were all unconscious. There were no traces of fighting, as if they were just asleep. Ah. Don't, help me. No, don't kill me, don't. Although these magicians were already asleep, they all showed fear, and from time to time they uttered screams of extreme fear, which made even the fallen ones shudder. To become a magician, the mental strength and willpower are originally much higher than ordinary people. What kind of horror is it that can make them scream in such fear? The fallen gate is unknown. Boom. A few minutes later, London Holy Place was destroyed again. New York, the Avengers base, 2 figures of huge amounts of one red and one green are fighting, and there are terrifying shockwaves from time to time. The green one is the Hulk, and the red one is the anti-Hulk armor. A deafening crash sounded, and the 2 figures separated. The anti-Hulk armor could no longer withstand the opponent's enormous force, it burst into pieces, scattered all over the place. Tony's head emerged from the ruins, complaining, Damn, you big green ball, you took down another set of my armor. Hulk's figure gradually became smaller, and turned back into Banner again, rubbing his head embarrassedly. Hulk has lost his strength. Stark shrugged. By the way, Hulk's strength seems to be getting stronger and stronger recently, do you feel it? Banner nodded. Stark said to himself. Thor has been hinting that the crisis will come again one day, and it's not time for us to rest. Are you ready? Banner hesitated and nodded. Maybe, it's still a little bit. Me too. Stark said this in a low voice, suddenly felt the surrounding darkened, as if shrouded in darkness. What's going on? The two looked up together, and saw a giant level sky fortress. Holy place number 2? This was the first reaction of the two. They had seen the pictures provided by Thor. No, there's a difference, it looks like it's more armed. Anyway, it's not a good comer. Prepare to defend. Stark yelled, reached out and slapped the reactor on his chest, and Mark 85 spread to his whole body in an instant. In the past few years, the nano armor has been upgraded many times, and its performance has been greatly improved in all aspects. And this Mark 85 is his latest achievement. The mecha is equipped with an energy shield to resist damage and a high-power energy cannon on the back. The cannon can absorb the power of Thor's thunder. Beside him, Banner also launched a transformation, and Hulk stared at him. Behind him, a large number of Avengers who stayed here ran out, watching the sky vigilantly. The various facilities of the Avengers base were launched, and the armed firepower of the Emperor on the building was ready to go. As the spaceship boarded, Thanos gave an order, shoot fire. Bang bang bang. A large number of missiles were launched from the barrel of Holy Place 2. Crooked. Stark sullenly. No. Banner's voice came from Hulk's body. He's targeting the Holy Place in New York. Missiles that have been ahead of the Earth for countless years have made existing air defense facilities a joke. Boom. In New Asgard Castle, Thor receives a communication from Loki. Serta is approaching. Quick Asgard. Isn't Serta on Titan? How did he come to Asgard without sanity? Thor had no time to think about it, even though he knew something was wrong. This is a conspiracy, he can't give up Asgard. After weighing for just a few seconds, Thor said in a deep voice, Jin and I will go back to Asgard together. You are ready to deal with possible problems on the Earth. I am afraid that this is the other party trying to divert the tiger away from the mountain. Wanda was not called, and stayed on Earth as an important force to deal with possible accidents. Jane Foster is undergoing a divine strengthening training in Asgard. And Carol also went to Asgard a few days ago, and is studying the transformation of Bifrost, trying to construct a stable transmission channel. Her energy is powered by Tesseract. Originally the energy was somewhat common. There are already enough people. Serta can't afford to make big waves, at worst, send it again. 5 minutes after leaving, Natalia's phone rang, and it was Stark. Hi, is Gaynor there? Why can't I contact him? What? He's back in Asgard again. Damn, NYC got attacked again. In Asgard, tens of thousands of meters above the ground, a huge amounts of flame giant is swaying the energy of the flame wantonly. Around it, 3 figures were flying around it, insignificant like ordinary ants in front of its huge size. Energy waves, flying swords, and thunder kept attacking it, but they couldn't do anything except attract some hatred. In fact, even the peak Odin can't kill it. But they still didn't relax at all, because once the attack stopped, Serta's target would turn to Asgard, and the 3 were now trying to find ways to lure it away. If they change places, maybe they can succeed, but in Asgard, this planet seems to have an inexplicable attraction to Serta. As long as they leave a certain distance, they will never go out again. And once the attack stopped, it immediately went straight in the direction of Asgard. No way, if we continue to consume like this, we will be consumed by it. Of the 3, Jane Foster is the weakest, she panted heavily. When Thor comes, there will be a solution. Big deal, just like 5 years ago, launch Bifrost again. However, Thor 117 at this time probably has no time to take care of. The originally clear sky was shrouded in a layer of black clouds, as if a huge amount of hole appeared in the sky out of thin air, and dark energy diffused out of it, quickly spreading across the sky. The crack was getting bigger and bigger, and a huge face was looming, as if it could pass through the crack at any time and land on Asgard. King of the Dark Latitude, Dormammu. Dormammu is not as irrational as Serta. Once he rushes in, he can swallow the whole of Asgard in an instant, so. Chin Gele stared at him, whispered, could it be that you want to? Thor hesitated for a moment, then laughed at himself. Even strange, a juggler, dares to face Dormammu, so what is there for me to hesitate? After all, he raised his battle axe and rushed straight towards Lai Zong's looming huge face. The closer to the crack, the thicker the dark atmosphere. But Thor has no time to think about this, because he saw that in the dark dimension opposite, Dormammu's huge amounts of face was already trying to pass through the crack, and there was still a look of contempt in his eyes. A mere Asgard, a native god in the eyes of mortals. Near. Seeing that the 2 sides were about to come into contact, Thor suddenly put away his battle axe, and a deep purple light suddenly burst out from his hand. Boom. With a full blow from the power gem, Dormammu was caught off guard and devoured the energy of the blow, and was pushed back through half of his face. No. Mortal, you are courting death. Dormammu roared angrily, but before he could react, Thor pushed him back into the dark dimension. It's useless, the 3 holy places have been destroyed, you can't stop me. Thor looked solemn, threw the tesseract in his hand, and condensed on the crack to form a space barrier, temporarily sealing the energy overflow of the dark dimension. The people of Asgard watched helplessly as their Lord King rushed into the dark dimension with Dormammu. Chingri exclaimed. She is no longer a novice who has just arrived in this world, knowing what the dark dimension of Dormammu means. Seeing that the crack was about to be forcibly closed by the tesseract's energy, she gritted her teeth and rushed in. In the dark space, countless energies surged everywhere, and Dormammu's huge amounts of face slowly condensed. How did you come in? Do you know it's dangerous? Supporting Dormammu before he could react, Thor said quickly. I don't trust you alone, it is strong. Chingri whispered. Thor shook his head helplessly, knowing that it was no less difficult to persuade Chin to quit than to persuade Dormammu at this time. He forced himself to calm down and looked at Dormammu who had appeared in front of him. Although knowing that the possibility is very small, Thor still intends to give it a try. Dormammu, I'm here to negotiate terms. No, you don't have the capital to negotiate terms. Your world belongs to me, just like other worlds. Glancing at the space barrier at the crack not far away, he sneered and said, you won't be able to seal it for long. With a big mouth, a terrifying energy spurted out, and Thor stood in front of Chin, resisting the blow desperately. Relying on the strength of the steel body, he barely blocked the blow, but he reached the limit. The body began to crack one by one, and it continued to regenerate and recover under the powerful physique brought by the super physique. This may be the first time in Thor's life that he is so close to death. On Earth, in the Avengers base, huge amounts of portals slowly opened one by one. The soldiers of Wakanda, the Kamar Taj Magician Regiment, the Marauders and the fleet of the Nova Corps, all forces that can be united are all arranged here by Strange. Is that all there are? Strange asked. Why, you still think it's too little? Fatty Wong looked shocked. Strange glanced at the large number of troops that landed on Holy Place 2, and said in a low voice, we must hold on until Thor arrives. He should have been held back by Dormammu now. Fatty Wong was stunned for a moment, his face was a little dignified. Are you sure he can beat Dormammu? Strange didn't speak. He has seen countless endings, but the current one is the best. But the future is never static. Even now, it will still change at any time. All you can do is try to do your own thing well. A vague figure holding a big knife appeared at the end of the Dark Army. Although it is not clear, the Avengers still will not forget this figure, Thanos. What's going on? Is Thanos dead? Who is this in front of you? Stark seemed to be asking everyone, but also seemed to be talking to himself. I see. Ant-Man suddenly said. This is Thanos from another timeline. They traveled through time and space and came to this universe. But how did he do it? Pym particles. Ant-Man said in a deep voice. Dr. Gem took control, Thanos read my memory. He has thought of a lot now, and he has the demeanor of hindsight, but it is a pity that he knows it too late. Delaying time. Stark nodded. I think I can do it. Although Thanos is strong, but with so many Avengers assembled, it may not be impossible to stop him. Thanos without the space gem, Doctor Strange alone would be able to restrain much. It's not that easy, Strange said in a deep voice. In the middle of the battlefield, Steve shouted, Avengers, assemble. Immediately, shouts sounded like a mountain roar and a tsunami, and countless Avengers formed an army to kill in the direction of Thanos. Thanos on the opposite side also raised the Overlord Skyblade, and the army surged behind him. The army rushed out and fought with the Avengers. Thanos didn't make a move. He watched the two armies fighting with cold eyes, with an evil smile on the corner of his mouth, senseless resistance. If Stark and others saw him up close, they would definitely notice the difference in Thanos. Standing here, Thanos has 2 layers of gray and his face is also covered with wrinkles. If the Thanos in memory is a purple sweet potato essence, this Thanos is a moldy purple sweet potato. This is no Thanos from 2014. Chi-Rita soldiers opened the shackles one by one, and released the giant apes one by one. Thanos took a look, thought of something, and ordered. Let this guy make a move, and the morale of the opponent will definitely be hit. Soon, several Zeruita soldiers came forward pushing a cage, and inside the cage was a man wearing a collar. Hulk. Roar, Collar Hulk has lost his mind, a pure beast, roaring and rushing towards the Avengers' army. Looking at the Avengers fighting desperately in the arena, Thanos was full of disdain, and his thoughts went back to a few days ago. He is not a person from this universe, to be precise, he is a criminal from another parallel universe. Thanos of that world, from the very beginning, intends to destroy all life in the universe. He was invincible, invaded the Earth, and easily defeated all the Avengers. Except for the Hulk, who was treated as a pet by him, the Avengers were wiped out, and the whole Earth was shrouded in death. Although he conquered the Earth, Thanos' footsteps did not stop. He came to Asgard, trying to destroy the ruler of the 9 realms. And Asgard at the moment has been ruled by Thor, who inherited the position of God King. Despite gathering the power of the entire God realm, it was still difficult to resist his soldiers, and the 9 realms were reduced to death in the hands of Thanos. Thanos, who destroyed Asgard, was still not satisfied. He longed for more battles, more carnage. At the moment, he has already become the destroyer of all life. After countless years of fighting, Thanos is finally old, but his strength is getting stronger and stronger. He destroyed the entire universe and slaughtered all the creatures in the universe. Apart from his dark army, and the guy who was tamed like a dog and wagged his tail, he was already the only creature in the universe. He is the supreme king. After the hegemony is completed, there is endless loneliness. He has never felt so empty, and the whole universe seems to have nothing worthwhile for him to do. In the end, Thanos, who was extremely bored, came up with a crazy idea, traveling to the past timeline to prevent his past self from destroying the world. However, the 6 original stones have long been destroyed by him, and the difficulty of traveling through time can be imagined. Thanos, who destroyed the entire universe, has obtained the most advanced technology in the entire universe. After countless failures, he finally developed a set of equipment that can travel through time and space. The last problem is that someone in the past timeline needs to help them. Orientate yourself so you don't get lost in endless time and space. At this moment, another strong man who tried to travel through time and space appeared at the end of time. The other party. It's me in another world. The most unacceptable thing for him is that, unlike himself, the self in another world is already a failed retired fruit farmer, lost to the Avengers, and all ideals are shattered on this remote planet Earth. Unable to accept the reality, he immediately prepared to kill that timeline and reshape the prestige of Thanos. Fruit grower Thanos stopped him. The strength of the Avengers in this world I live in is far beyond imagination. It is not suitable to rush there. A more secure plan is needed. Fruit farmer Thanos is surprisingly cautious. This is the last chance, be sure to strike a fatal blow. Once you fail, there will be no chance to make a comeback. I will try my best to find more allies. Old Thanos didn't object, though he didn't think it was necessary for him. But no matter how long Thanos has been tossing in the opponent's universe in the past, for him, he can instantly travel to the time when the coordinates are opened. After returning to his own timeline, Thanos completed all the layouts during the 10 days the Avengers searched for him. In the end, having completed his mission, he asked Modu Magician to use Mind Gem to clear his memory, and return to his retired garden life with peace of mind. Thinking back to the present, Thanos clenched the Overlord Skyblade in his hand. The self in this world has completed all the layouts he has done, and rests forever. The rest is up to you to do it yourself. From now on, I am the natural danger of this world. Boom. As Ant-Man knocked down a giant Leviathan with one punch, it was declared that the battle had entered a fever pitch. In the sky, the silver light flashed, and the Valkyrie troops came quickly on the Pegasus. The addition of this powerful army, together with the Black Dragon Princess, once suppressed the air power of the Thanos army. It's kind of interesting. Thanos said lightly, seemingly indifferent. Boom, Stark shot out a powerful laser, blasting Corvus Glaive flying in front of him, and was about to pursue him, when suddenly a powerful force struck from behind, and 10 burly bodies knocked him over in the distance. Black Dwarf? Stark guessed. Looking back, he was stunned for a moment, and the laser cannons that were originally prepared were all paused. Hulk? What the hell are you doing? Soon, he realized something was wrong. Although the Hulk in normal life is always very irritable and likes to smash all kinds of things, he also has his own thoughts, and sometimes he may not be able to communicate according to his words. And the Hulk in front of him seemed utterly irrational. More importantly, he saw a collar around the other party's neck. Is this a Hulk from a parallel universe? Roar. Stark didn't have time to think about it. The collar Hulk punched him flying, and the whole person jumped up and beat him on the head frantically. Damn it. Stark was caught off guard, and couldn't break free for a moment. Boom, another green figure knocked the collared Hulk into the air. I didn't expect that the Hulk in another world would look like this, it's so sad. Inside Hulk, Bruce Banner's voice came out. Not the Hulk. Not the Hulk. Hulk lisped back to Banner. 2 Hulks scuffle. The air force of the Thanos army is not weak, not to mention the overwhelming Chi-Rita fighter jets, just the huge Leviathan giant Coon, like fortresses in the sky. However, what they are facing is almost all the powerful experiences in this world. The Chi-Rita fighters are in a difficult situation under the siege of the Marauders and Wakanda fighters, and their own Stark's drone army, while the Leviathan giants are firmly restrained by the Black Dragon. Not to mention the powerful Valkyrie Legion. Despite the petite stature of those Valkyrie, in fact each one has the strength to destroy the Leviathan giant Kun. Thanos hadn't planned to end so early. Although it is stupid to let the subordinates go up first when fighting, and then go up to the boss when they are all dead, it is stupid to line up to die, but the truth is understandable, and the manipulation of strength is another matter. Apart from other things, they are all bosses, so they can't do everything by themselves, can they? But it doesn't work now, the scene is too ugly, and if you don't take action, your army will be defeated. Especially the Black Dragon, in terms of strength, it is not very strong, but every time the opponent takes a deep breath, the flames sprayed can engulf a large number of Kiruita soldiers and vanguards. This is simply a skill born to adapt to the battlefield. And that giant wolf, it seems to be called Fenrir Giant Wolf? Isn't it dead long ago? Corvus Glaive had already been knocked to the ground once. The Overlord Skyblade spun out and blocked Stark, who was about to make up for Corvus Glaive. Thanos jumped and came in front of Stark. Tony Stark, huh? I know you. Thanos said lightly, in my world, there is also an arrogant Iron Man like you, trying to stop my hegemony. Unfortunately, in the end, I screwed his head off and made it my collection. Stark's face changed, and he retorted, in my time, there was also such a Thanos. I wanted to keep his head, but unfortunately I don't like a shriveled purple potato. Thanos narrowed his eyes. I hope your strength can be as sharp as your words. He was answered with a laser cannon. The Hulk battle has reached a fever pitch. In terms of strength, the tamed Collar Hulk is definitely not as good as Rage Hulk, but its beast-like fighting style makes Hulk hard to guard against. In addition to punching and kicking, there is also biting. Hulk felt that in front of him was a beast who had been hungry for days and nights. In addition to emotion, Bruce Banner is more sad and shamed. This is himself in another world. 1. Already tamed by Thanos, succumbed to Thanos Hulk. A Hulk like a dog. Bruce Banner's feelings are in common with Hulk's, and he clearly feels that Hulk's anger is getting higher and higher, and his strength is getting stronger and stronger. Boom _ one punch, and with a loud bang, the collared Hulk was knocked to the ground. You are not worthy of being a Hulk. With Hulk's roar spreading throughout the battlefield, a power that seems to be hidden in the depths of the soul slowly awakened in the body. The originally extremely thick muscles have been stretched even more. Although the body shape does not seem to have changed, anyone can feel the irrepressible prehistoric power in his body with just a glance. Grabbing the collar, Hulk fell on the ground. Clasping his hands on top of his head, he roared angrily, "You don't deserve it." Crack. Under everyone's horrified gaze, the collared Hulk was torn in half from head to toe. People's physiques cannot be generalized. Some people once punched a 50-centimeter thick steel plate when they were extremely angry. Hulk and Hulk's physique cannot be generalized. The Hulk of this world completed the feat of tearing Hulk with his hands in extreme anger. Roar. Having torn apart the thing that bears his own name, Hulk stomped on its back and roared. The relatively upright Black Dwarf in Black Order couldn't stand it anymore, and the tomahawk spun and smashed it like a meteor hammer. Hulk couldn't even look, could have punched. Boom. Shocking power came, and the giant axe flew back at a faster speed. Black Dwarf managed to dodge his own weapon, and was dragged into a troop for several hundred meters before stopping. In the sky, a giant Leviathan saw the high-profile Hulk, roared down, and opened its mouth wide to try to swallow him. Hulk's hands were born. One left and one right grabbed the sides of the giant Kun's head, and twisted it hard. Kalala. The sound of metal tearing sounded, and the giant Leviathan's body was twisted into a ball like a twist, and the hard skin shattered everywhere. WTF? When did Hulk become so fierce? Stark couldn't help but let out an exclamation. Well, just now he almost knelt down after 2 moves with Thanos. He found that Thanos was much fiercer than he remembered, so he quickly handed over the boss to the 2 masters, Strange and Wanda, who rushed over, and he couldn't mess with him. Can't afford to provoke. Hulk turned his head, glanced at him, and Banner's voice sounded in his body. This is a new transformation form, and it can only be successful if Hulk's anger reaches the limit. I had this in the laboratory a while ago. It feels like this is the first success. Well, in this state, I call it King Hulk. Hulk's dissatisfied voice interrupted, Lu Shang. Okay, La Shang Hulk, you can smash it as much as you want. Doll. With a blissful roar, Hulk rushed into the crowd. No matter whether it was Chi-Rita soldiers or vanguards, no one could stop him and destroy them. Not far away, Thanos, who was entangled with the juggler endlessly, saw this scene, and countless muddy horses galloped past in his heart. I wanted to take this as a blow to the morale of the Avengers, but I didn't expect the Hulk on the opposite side to evolve a second time. As it turns out, against Emperor Thanos, Doctor Strange's gimmicky tricks really don't work. As Strange gestured with both hands, countless duplications were released. The shape of Icon, combined with the control magic Scarlet Necklace, firmly binds Thanos. Thanos roared up to the sky. The power of his whole body exploded suddenly, and hundreds of Doctor Strange around him were pulled to the side immediately. The Overlord Skyblade swept across, and all the duplications were wiped out. Thanos smirked and jumped at Strange himself. Boom! Wanda's red energy covered Thanos' sword just right, holding him in the air. Seeing that Thanos was about to break free, Strange entangled him tightly with the energy whip in his hand. No matter how strong this Thanos is, he is a pure fighter after all. Facing the two strongest mages in the world, he is still difficult to resist. Wanda also doesn't have the ability to tear his body apart. Gotcha. Tyrant Heavenly Blade couldn't bear the power of Origin magic power, and it shattered in the air. The battle armor on Thanos is also shattering everywhere, but his body is still untank. This is comparable to the physical strength of a man of steel. Thanos struggled and yelled, "Shoot!" Bang bang bang. The energy cannon from Holy Place No. 2 blasted out, and Wanda only had time to open a shield before being blown away. The rain of guns did not stop, and the bombing, regardless of whether it was the enemy or us, was in every corner of the battlefield, and blood and flesh flew everywhere. Thanos is already angry, he no longer cares about his troops. The magicians of Kamar Taj quickly opened the protective shield, but it was only a drop in the bucket. The battlefield is too big, and magicians are in the minority after all. Boom. A deafening sound sounded, the reservoir dam near the Avengers base still collapsed, and the torrential flood swept in. Doctor Strange quickly ascended to a high place, his hands were sealed, and the rushing flood rolled up into the sky in a vortex, temporarily avoiding the spread of the flood. However, the firepower of Holy Place 2 did not stop. Facing Holy Place No. 2 suspended high in the air, even the Avengers are still beyond reach. If Captain Marvel can come in time, it may be able to save the siege, but she is still entangled in Asgard and Serta. Friday, can the drone climb to the height of Holy Place No. 2? Stark narrowly dodged a missile and hurriedly contacted Friday. No problem. But boss, you have to understand that the firepower of drones cannot break through the opponent's defense. Friday's voice sounded. No, my idea is to use the drone to rush to the vicinity of the launch port and fire at the shells that have just come out of the chamber. Boss, have you considered it clearly? Doing so may lead to the destruction of the entire drone system. This is the guarantee to deal with the world crisis. Normally, Friday would be obedient to Stark, but now this decision is too big, and she has to be cautious about reconfirmation. I'm sure. Stark smiled wryly, isn't this the biggest crisis in the world right now? When the next round of artillery rain was about to be launched, densely packed drones greeted Holy Place No. 2, firing towards each barrel continuously. Bang, boom. The moment the artillery fired, it was intercepted by the drone's bullets and exploded directly. The drone was also affected by the violent shockwave and was engulfed by the explosion. This explosion intensity cannot cause damage to the spaceship, but it is fatal to the lightweight drone. Bang bang bang. Looking up from the ground, dots of flames are continuously bursting out from Holy Place 2, it seems that all the artillery rain has been intercepted. Only Stark knows that this is what he bought with the destruction of countless drones, and it won't last long. Just when he was at his wit's end, a beam of light flew from the distant sky, and before Holy Place No. 2 could react, it instantly pierced through it. Boom. That streamer, not just anything, exploded inside Holy Place No. 2, and the flames enveloped the entire spaceship. Thanos watched helplessly as the mighty Holy Place No. 2, who had been with him in battle all his life, received a devastating blow on the 10th day after he came to this world. Amidst the raging flames, the solid cabin of Holy Place No. 2 was torn and shattered, and they all fell into the sea, causing huge waves. Doctor Strange working on the flood. NMP. I have a question, who dismantled this big spaceship just now? Rocket asked. I remember a lady who was glowing all over could do it, but she's not here. Little Spider-Man glanced at the sky, and replied. It seems that an intercontinental missile flew from the north and passed through the North Pole. Could it be Mousy who restarted the research on the super hydrogen bomb? Peter Parker shuddered. I think the strength of this spaceship, even 100 Tsar bombs can't handle it. Scientific madman Stark muttered in the new Asgard castle. Maya Hansen, Christine and other non-combatants surrounded a phantom of a little girl covered in red and praised. Good job. I used to think you were just acting cute, I didn't know you were so good. The Red Queen was a little shy after being praised, and explained in a low voice. This is the ultimate defensive weapon designed at the beginning of the castle's construction. The owner named it the Italian cannon. It is powerful enough to destroy the moon. The only disadvantage is that it takes a long time recharge. It takes 1 month after releasing an attack before it can be used again. Zhao Hailun patted her on the shoulder, passed her palm through her chest, and then remembered that the Red Queen is not a real entity, and said in embarrassment. I suddenly wondered, can I create a body for you, and put your consciousness import it? I think it's okay, I've done it before, how about making you a vibranium body? It's the hardest metal on Earth. Well. You can't be called the Red Queen if you have a body, so I should give you a more normal name, so I can call you Alice? No. The Red Queen shook her head like a rattle. Vibranium is in poor health, I know that. The last vibranium robot had its neck broken. In fact, there is another important reason why the Red Queen didn't mention it. Others may not know it, but she, as a super artificial intelligence, does. Although Vision's body looks different from ordinary people, he is actually flawed. For example, he lacks the most important function. The crash of Holy Place 2 was a major blow to Thanos. He silently looked at the direction of the crash and remained silent for a long time. Roar. Hulk roared and rushed forward, punched Thanos on the head, knocked him into the air, and rolled twice on the ground. People's sorrows and joys are not connected. Hulk only felt that the purple sweet potato essence was in a daze. Hulk, who has turned into a green embarrassment, now feels that there is nowhere to release his strength. He chases after Thanos, who has not yet fully climbed up. I was stunned. The Warframe, which had been shattered under Wanda's origin magic power, was completely destroyed by Hulk. Boom. An uppercut, hard on Thanos' jaw, throwing him up. Seeing Hulk chasing him from below, Thanos quickly adjusted his posture, and when he was about to teach Hulk how to be a man with his backhand, Wanda's origin magic power arrived. Thanos watched helplessly as he slammed down a heavy punch. Halfway through the punch, he was wrapped in red energy, and he pulled his arm abruptly. Boom. A punch that concentrated all of Hulk's strength was accepted by Thanos' purple potato face. Thanos' eyes were spinning for a moment, and he even felt the dimple in his cheek. Bang bang bang, constantly rained fists on his body. It's not that Thanos didn't fight back, the problem is that Wanda's chaos energy is always haunting him. Even if he can't completely control it, it can slow down his shooting speed. For a physical master of Thanos level, this is undoubtedly fatal. Thanos roared angrily, and he was horrified to find that he seemed to be unable to do anything when he was extremely angry. Thanos suddenly had a feeling that if he didn't do something, he might be beaten to death by Hulk. A strange energy fluctuation quietly enveloped the battlefield. Hulk, who was beating Thanos violently, suddenly found that everything in front of him was spinning. Thanos' figure disappeared, and countless pictures flashed before his eyes. In a trance, some familiar or unfamiliar voices sounded in my ears. This set of equipment can extract the Hulk serum from your body. If you dare to destroy the Hulk, you are ready to be imprisoned forever. He seemed to have returned to the precarious days when he was hunted down by General Ross. Hulk hugged his head suddenly and roared. At the same time, all the Avengers fell into a weird state. Stark sees the brutal spectacle of losing the war, the dying Captain America dragging his broken half-shield, grabbing his chest with the last of his strength. You could have changed this. Natalia saw Vomir's star. Thor jumped off the cliff to complete the sacrifice, but never returned. The sacrifice is real. No, help, I don't want to die. Go away. Go away. This is true for the Avengers, not to mention the others, who fled in all directions with expressions of fear and despair. The magician with the most powerful mental power forcibly recovered even in just an instant, just like Strange and Wanda. Thanos' army was not affected. Facing the magicians who suddenly lost their ability to resist, they raised their butcher knives one after another. In the next moment, the Avengers Alliance will suffer a devastating blow. Seeing this, Strange immediately cast a magic spell. The eye of Agamotto on his chest opened, and it was empty inside, and the time gem was no longer there. But Eye of Agamotto is not just a container of time gem, it stores a small amount of gem power, and some residual green energy floats out, barely allowing him to complete a spell. The time of the whole world has stood still. It's a nightmare. Strange turned around and quickly explained while maintaining his spell. Just like her name, in the nightmare world I created, she is almost omnipotent. The nightmare forcefully enters the opponent's dream, or directly drags the target into the most terrifying nightmare. In the nightmare, she can also absorb energy for herself to become stronger. In addition to modifying the dream, if the target cannot break free, the soul can be imprisoned in this terrifying space forever. My spell lasts only 1 minute. Scarlet Witch, only you can stop her, right? Perhaps stimulated by the power of time, Fatty Wong barely regained his consciousness. He is the most powerful magician in today's Kamar Taj after Doctor Strange. Hearing Strange's last few words, he glanced around and asked suspiciously, "Didn't Nightmare be sealed by the teacher?" Besides, even if the newly sealed nightmare doesn't have enough nightmares as a source of energy, how could she affecting so many people at once, including the magician of Kamartaj? Strange said in a deep voice, because of Mind Gem. The ability to create nightmares is essentially a high-level use of mental power. For most people, the effect is outstanding, and it is almost impossible to break free, but for magicians with high mental strength, the effect is not satisfactory. And Mind Gem strengthening her ability. Wanda looked at the corner of the battlefield where had not been affected since the beginning. A figure was looming, and in the opponent's hand, a golden gemstone gleamed. See it? Strange spoke suddenly. See what? Fatty Wong was a little confused. Dr. Strange didn't answer, and continued to say to Wanda. This is the nightmare. Only you can see her, and only you can stop her. Wanda stepped forward and suddenly turned around and asked, if I lose, what will happen? Strange looked at her with complicated eyes. The whole universe has turned into a cold dead place. Wanda nodded, her perplexed eyes became firm, she flew in front of Nightmare, and in her unbelievable eyes, chaos force injected into her mind. The previously invisible Nightmare suddenly appeared, and the energy storm immediately surrounded her and Wanda. Wanda's pupils gradually changed, and a faint red light began to emerge. Streaks of dark green nightmare energy and dark red chaos force are mixed in the storm around him, looking extremely coquettish. Oh, plus F. The static state of time and space disappeared, and Strange's magic effect had reached its limit and could no longer be maintained. At the same time, the Avengers woke up from the nightmare. Is this the end? Fatty Wong couldn't believe it. It's not that easy. Strange looked at the center of the storm where the two confronted each other. She just let Nightmare withdraw her nightmare power to compete with her. It's fine if she wins, but if she loses, the consequences are just like what I said. It can be said that Wanda almost bears the fate of the entire universe, and no one can help her. Nightmare's original location was on the side close to Thanos' army, surrounded by a large number of Kiritas. The moment the energy of the two sides clashed, the strong storm turned all the existence in this area into powder. This is a battle between the top powers in the universe, and no one can interfere, or they will be torn to pieces in an instant. If the time gem is still there, Strange can barely try it, but forget it in this state. In the dark space, fierce battles are going on. Boom, Thor held the Power Stone in front of him, resisting Dormammu's slap on the palm. Let's go back. Although we are not your opponent, it is enough to resist your attack. Thor yelled. Ha ha ha. Dormammu's loud laughter sounded, and the entire dark space was shaking. You have always solved the problem through negotiation, which means you are more urgent than me. Thor was silent. Don't you wonder how Serta, who is far away from Titan, came to Asgard? I didn't know it before, but now I know it. Thor's face became more and more gloomy. With the strength of Serta, it is sent to Asgard across the distant space. Even if it is not Dormammu himself, it cannot be separated from his intervention. Then you now have two choices. First, wait for Asgard's destruction, your companions won't last long. Second, make Asgard a member of darkness. In the end, Dormammu finally revealed his purpose. Chin Gele behind her looked at Thor worriedly, she didn't know how Thor would choose. The anger in Thor's eyes slowly dissipated, turning into a bone-chilling coldness. I still have a third choice, don't force me to kill you. Who? Dormammu's ugly laughter was deafening. This is the funniest joke I've ever heard. Even Ancient One wouldn't dare to say it. Why do you kill me? Do you have the ability? Definitely. Yes. Thor looked back blankly. Chin, break the seal and release your power. This is the real picture. In the minds of the Avengers, their nightmare lasted only a second, as if suddenly in a trance. In the fierce battle, no one has the time to doubt. Only the duel between Hulk and Thanos suddenly lost Wanda's involvement and became one-on-one. Drip. Your plug-in slowing technique has expired. Well, Hulk doesn't have a system, and he doesn't realize it. Just now he and Wanda singled out Thanos, which made him more confident, and suddenly he had the feeling that he could beat Thanos into a rotten purple potato. If it was the original boxing champion, Liu Shang Hulk might really be able to do it. It's a pity that the current Thanos is several times more fierce than the fruit farmer Thanos in memory. Wow. Facing Hulk's wide-open and close punch, Thanos grabbed his fist. Hulk. Huh? The other hand continued to attack and was also grabbed by Thanos. Under Hulk's disbelieving gaze, Thanos slowly pulled his hands away. Boom. With a left uppercut, Hulk was stunned. He spun 360 degrees on the spot, and was stopped by Thanos with a right uppercut. Hulk became a big sandbag. Bang bang bang. The ensuing battle became fiercer. Well, Hulk is miserable, Thanos is fierce. The battle in the dark space also began to become fierce. The collar hidden around Chin-Gelei's neck shattered the moment the Phoenix Force broke out, and her power was completely released. Perhaps it was the eruption after suppressing it for too long. This time the energy eruption came more fiercely than ever. The surging power made Chin float uncontrollably. Flames erupted from her body, and the dark space without a ray of light since ancient times was like daylight at this moment. Boom. The aftermath of the power caused the countless surrounding stars to explode instantly, and Dormammu suffered most of the energy. What kind of power is this? Damn, it's not the power that this universe should have at all. Who are you? Stop it, stop it. For the first time, Dormammu let out a cry of fear, and he felt that this was a kind of terrifying power that he had never seen before. This was a kind of existence that was born at the beginning of all things. Chaos was immortal, eternal but impermanent. Fortunately, this force seems to be still immature, and it seems that it has not yet reached the level of eliminating it. You will not succeed. Your strength is indeed powerful, but at most it can cause me pain, but it cannot destroy me. Jean didn't speak, and it was Thor who answered, maybe not now, but soon. He took back the Tesseract and took out the ether at the same time. Maybe I couldn't do it in the original world. The difference between the two completely different worlds is too great. But this is the dark dimension, another universe. Under Dormammu's puzzled eyes, Tesseract and ether emitted a dazzling light, bombarding the front. In the void, a crack slowly opened. It only opened less than 1 person wide, then stopped, and soon began to close. However, in the next moment, a glaring light appeared from it, instantly opened the crack in space, and turned into a sky full of flames. Pulled by the Phoenix Force erupting from Chin's body, the flame rushed straight into her body. Chin-Gelei let out a hoarse cry. Her full head of hair exploded immediately, and golden energy cracks appeared on her clean face, as if they could erupt at any time. Her body still couldn't bear this force, and she was completely passive at this time. If possible, Thor would not use this method. Not only would it cause extreme pain to Chin, but he would not be able to end it either. Unfortunately, there is no option. The influx of energy lasted for a full minute, and neither Thor nor Dormammu could move. Boom. All the flames disappeared and turned into a golden phoenix, surrounding Chin's body. At this moment, she is Dark Phoenix. The space crack is instantly closed. In another universe, a voice suddenly sounded. How did it disappear? It obviously appeared here. Damn it. We must find the one who has absorbed the energy, that is my power. But she is destined to fail to fulfill her wish, unless one day she is also summoned to that universe by Thor. However, this is impossible. Even if the system is convulsed, Wong-Er can choose to give up the reward. What's going on here? What the hell happened? Dormammu himself didn't notice the tremor in its voice. Maybe, we can talk? It asked Thor tentatively. Start negotiating terms now? It's too late. Thor flatly refused. Besides, Chin is no longer under his control. Phoenix Force poured down towards Dormammu again in the form of flames. Stop it. Dormammu let out a loud scream. If we talk about the Phoenix Force just now, it is like a drop in the bucket against Dormammu. Even if water can put out the fire, needs enough weight. But now, it has become a big river. Stop. I can leave. I promise not to invade Asgard again. No, I promise never to enter this universe. Dormammu had gone mad. For so many years, it bought a feeling of death once. It already felt that his body was slowly disintegrating, which he had never experienced before, and he began to fear. The output of Phoenix Force continued to increase. Chin-Gelei's red hair was flying, her originally clear blue eyes turned into a ghostly golden yellow, and her originally smooth face was covered with lines of Phoenix energy. She suddenly stopped increasing the speed of releasing Phoenix Force, and looked at Thor with complicated eyes. If you keep going, it's going to get out of control. How Dormammu exists, it only took a moment to discover the clues. It laughed loudly. You can't control it. If you kill me, you will kill your friends too. Chin-Gelei trembled all over, and childhood memories came to mind. When Chin was young, ability lost control while the family was driving, killing her mother, and her father handed her over to the professor to raise her. She already knew. Thor told the truth 5 years ago. If it gets out of control again, the complete Phoenix Force will only be more terrifying than ever. Jin looked at Thor again. Don't worry, it will be fine. Thor gave her a relieved look. No matter what happens, I will take you home. Ha ha ha. Stupid mortals, always bound by emotions. Emotions will only make you weak. Dormammu sneered aloud. It felt like it had walked through the gate of hell. It even thinks that as long as it drags on for a while, Asgard is dismantled by Surta, and the situation can be reversed. One of the 3 major illusions in life, I can fight back. Chin looked at it again. The confusion and hesitation on his face disappeared, and he became firm. No, you were wrong. My feelings make me strong. Boom. The Phoenix Force suddenly became violent, sweeping the entire dark space. Near the battlefield, in a hidden corner, Modu was watching everything that happened on the battlefield. Suddenly he felt his heart twitch, and then all his flesh and blood began to turn into energy, gathering towards his chest, and then heading towards the dark dimension. Ah. No, my lord, why are you doing this? No. At the same time, in various parts of the world, countless seemingly normal magicians were suddenly pulled by an inexplicable force, and their entire bodies turned into streaks of black energy, flying into the air and disappearing. What happened? Fatty Wong asked with some doubts. They are all Dormammu's believers. Strange said with a complicated expression. Dormammu has encountered a crisis, and has to withdraw all its power to fight against it. From the moment they accept Dormammu's power, this day is doomed. Including Modu, he is dead. What? Fatty Wong was so shocked that his jaw almost dislocated. How is it possible? Even the teacher doesn't have the ability to force Dormammu to this point, right? Strange didn't speak, he was a little worried. No, you can't kill me. Darkness is eternal, and the dark dimension will not disappear. Dormammu growled in despair. The darkness won't go away, but you will. Thor said coldly. You were originally just a necromancer. You accidentally discovered the dark space and entered here. In order to become the king of the dark space, you abandoned your original body and was replaced by the terrible magic flame. Evil power. The dark dimension will not disappear, and the darkness will not disappear, only you, Dormammu. The Phoenix Force swept across, and Dormammu's huge body finally collapsed, turning into primitive dust. A soul flew up from it and fled at a high speed. As long as you escape, relying on the countless dark energy here, you will be able to recover one day. It thought so in its heart. An irresistible suction came from behind. No. Thor put away the soul gem in his hand, and said with a sneer, if you dare to appear in the soul state, even if you are the Dark Lord, you have to kneel to me. The orange light on the gemstone dimmed in the afternoon, and it seemed to be full of food. After all, it was a big guy who swallowed it. There is no longer a ruler in the dark space. Maybe many years later, there will be a second Dark Lord born here, but there will be no second Dormammu. Thor turned in the direction of the piano. There is another important problem here. Don't come here, Jin yelled, clutching her head. Dormammu had disappeared, and Phoenix Force tried to take it back, but the energy lines on her face did not disappear, and the whole person was on the verge of collapse. Don't. Seeing Thor approaching, she yelled again at the top of her lungs. I can't control. You don't understand this feeling. When this force surges up, it is beyond my control. Every time this power erupts, someone will be hurt. I don't want to hurt you, go away. Her whole body began to tremble. Thor still didn't stop. He knew that if he left, Chin's emotions would be completely out of control, and then she would really be finished. I ask you to remove the seal, and I also caused the cosmic flare. Now that there is a problem and I leave it all to you, then I am shameless. Thor smiled lightly, and said in a low voice, I said but I'll take you home, I won't give up on you. Trust me, let's get through this together. While speaking, Thor had already walked up to her and put his hand on her shoulder. Don't want. The flames of the Phoenix Force erupted instantly, surrounded the surroundings, and then stood still in the air. Looking face to face at a close distance, Chin's expression has begun to become ferocious, and she is trying to control her power. She almost begged. No, I can't control it. Hurry up, you go. The surrounding energy trembled again, as if it could explode at any time. I said, I'll take you home. In Jean Grey's desperate eyes, the flames of the Phoenix finally erupted, engulfing Thor in an instant. The moment the Phoenix Force swept in, Thor finally understood why Dormammu was so terrified. It is one of the most fearsome existences in countless universes. It can cut or regenerate any part of the universe, or even destroy it completely, burning those things that should be eliminated. This is called the Phoenix's Judgment. There is a description that calls Phoenix Force the embodiment of all things passion. The spark brings life to the universe, and the fire will eventually destroy it. Thor clearly felt that the steel body he once regarded as an absolute defense was slowly dissolving. And the powerful level of strength makes the recovery ability brought by the super physique suppressed. This is the result of Chin's desperate efforts to control. Stop the hesitation, it's too late, quick, kill me, came the pleading cry. Kill me. Kangdang. Stormbreaker fell to the ground, showing his attitude. In the next moment, Thor saw a golden phoenix in front of his eyes, which almost condensed into substance. The standoff between the Earth battlefield, Wanda and Nightmare continues. They are also the three top forces in the universe, Chaos Force's level selection is beyond the reach of the succubus. But Wanda's control is far from enough. Suddenly, Wanda felt a palpitation, and her expression froze instantly. She sensed. Ying 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 ying. The scream wasn't loud, but everyone on the battlefield heard it. Wanda's eyes completely turned blood red at this moment. She fell to her knees, and the energy in her body burst out uncontrollably. The whole world became quiet, and everyone felt that their vision turned blood-colored at this moment, and they all looked in her direction in shock. Nightmare was honored to be Wanda's first target after she went berserk. The green light was instantly covered by blood-red clusters, and the nightmare energy she relied on for survival swept back together with Chaos Force at this moment. Ah! It let out a piercing scream, and its whole body began to be disintegrated. I will not die. As long as there are people in this world who have nightmares, I will always have a chance to be born again. You have no chance. Wanda's emotionless voice sounded. Then, Nightmare found out in horror that the connection between himself and Nightmare Dimension was broken, as if he had never been in contact. Is this alter reality? Is that how death feels? Why doesn't it seem to change? The first time Thor opened his eyes, he saw the phoenix flames sweeping around, and Jean Grey's tear-stained face. Drip. The death of the host is detected, the passive skill, death resistance is triggered, time rewinding is in progress. Drip. The target strength of killing the host has surpassed time, the world's time regression is invalid, and it turns to the host's own time regression. Time rewinding is complete, and the host state has been fully restored. Drip. Congratulations to the host for completing the mission, Hatchet ending. Killed by his lover, get reward, character exclusive plugin. A series of system prompts came, which made Thor sound. He also has a passive skill that he has forgotten for more than 20 years. It seems that he got it from Hela's mission. Are you okay? Chin's voice of surprise and joy came. For the time being, it seems to be. I don't know if it's an illusion, but Wayner feels that the Phoenix Force's damage to him seems to have weakened a little. Is it because my death just now has further stimulated Chin's potential and slightly improved her control? Chin could see his thoughts, shook his head and said, no, this improvement is negligible, and it may take many years to completely control it. Thor frowned. It's not a big problem to fall in love and kill each other for a few years, but the most lacking thing now is time. I don't know what's going on outside. With just a few words, the Phoenix Force swallowed him up again. When consciousness came back, Thor saw himself walking on a piece of green grass. Clatter. The sound of the waves sounded, and the cry of seagulls came from a distance. Here is northern Norway. Thor looked at the sea, and suddenly said loudly, Father, you are out of order. Under normal circumstances, you should be able to see my new island from this place. Odin hiding in the shadows. He came out with an embarrassing face, and said in a low voice, you came 5 years later than I thought. I thought you would come here in Ragnarok. Thor rolled his eyes, because I'm awesome. Odin. Can't talk today. As everyone knows, Thor is also a little troubled by this. Miss Daddy mode? That's the way to cheat? This is mine, okay? Pit Dad system. Odin said with a dark face. In any case, you are now in an unsolvable trouble. Asgard, once again in crisis, right? Thor nodded. Serta, the bastard, came here to make trouble while I was too busy. Wait for me to free up my hands and teach it to be a human being. Odin chuckled lightly. But you can't kill him, even if I was back then, I can at most take away its eternal fire. Once its helmet touches the flame one day, it will be reborn immediately. Then, how did you take away the eternal fire? Thor asked. Beat it. Thor seeing his expression, Odin couldn't help laughing. Since I can do it, you can do the same, even better than me. Just like Ragnarok, the eternal prophecy, you will finally crack it, here's the proof. After Odin finished speaking, he slowly turned around. That's it. Thor's eyes widened. You didn't say anything. Odin turned his head and whispered, enough Thor, you are better than me. After speaking, continue to walk back, etc. What's the matter? Odin didn't look back. Thor considered his words. Dad, can I trouble you to notify me in advance when you show up next time? You know, sometimes I'm doing some things, it's inconvenient. Odin was stunned for a few seconds before he came to his senses and cursed, you bastard. Everything that happens in the sea of consciousness corresponds to reality for just a moment. In the dark space, with Chin sobbing, the Phoenix Force is still destroying Thor's body. Suddenly, she noticed a slight change. Thor's body, which should have been reduced to ashes at this moment, suddenly stopped being destroyed, and began to recover instead. All the wounds on his body are healing quickly, and Thor recovers on his own without starting to die. At the same time, the pressure of the divine power on Thor's body suddenly began to rise violently, and the golden radiance gradually enveloped his whole body, completely isolating the Phoenix Force. Boom. A violent explosion sounded, and the aftermath alone turned countless planets into ashes. Jean's eyes widened. Drip. The plugin, the father-in-law mode, has been successfully used. Congratulations to the host for getting the reward, the Power of Odin. The Power of Odin. An ability that has been passed down within the bloodline of the Aesir royal family. The reason why we call it the Power of Odin today is because among the existing abilities, the strongest is Odin. Before Odin, the Power of Odin was not called this name, but was called Bor's Power, because Odin's father was called Bor. So at that time this force was called Bor's Power. Before Bol, this divine power was called Bli's Power, because Odin's grandfather was called Bli. Feeling the unprecedented powerful power in his body, Thor whispered. Then now, the name of this power is Thor's Power. Thor's eyes instantly turned golden, and unparalleled divine power burst out, sweeping the entire dark space, even suppressing the Phoenix Force by 157 degrees. The Phoenix Force, which had gradually begun to fall silent, seemed to be provoked, and at this moment it broke out completely again, occupying half of the country again. Chin quickly reacted, and whispered. What should I do now? I still can't control my power, and I will hurt other people as soon as I go back. This is indeed a problem. The Phoenix Force is not contained, it just can't hurt itself anymore. You can't leave Chin in the dark space and wait for yourself to come and visit every day, right? The awakening of divine power brings not only the improvement of strength, but also wisdom. Thor stretched out his hand, and Stormbreaker flew to the center. Gently stroking the battle axe, Thor whispered. When thunder lives forever with flames, light and darkness will usher in the final decisive battle. This is the real destiny. Unparalleled divine power poured into the battle axe, driving it to fly high into the sky, in the power of Odin. Oh, now it should be called the center of the confrontation between the power of Thor and the force of Phoenix. Jin, try to integrate power into the battle axe. Chin froze for a moment, and immediately followed suit. In an instant, a huge amount of vortex appeared in the sky, and the Phoenix Force quickly gathered towards the Stormbreaker. It's as if the power brought by the previous flare entered Jean Grey's body. How? How is this possible? Chin's small mouth opened slightly, her eyes full of disbelief. Stormbreaker, can you actually become a Phoenix host? It's not the battle axe, it's me. Thor said. I chose the battle axe because it is my weapon. If I use Mjolnir at this moment, then it will also choose Mjolnir. Because my body there is another source of divine power, so the Phoenix Force chose to use weapons as a bond with me. Lai Yan will be reborn in the thunder, and the Phoenix battle axe will be forged soon. Chin looked at Thor with bright eyes. Thor chuckled and said, You guessed it right, just like you, I was also recognized as the perfect host by the Phoenix Force, even if it wasn't the moment before, it is now. Back then, there were countless worlds and countless individuals. I chose to bring you into this world, perhaps just for this moment. Who? Phoenix Force's input stopped, and the rest returned to Chin's body. Your strength is still improving. Feeling the situation inside the piano, Thor said. Rebirth from the ashes is really a magical power. Even if it is divided, it can slowly return to its integrity. However, your control should be able to keep up with it. Stormbreaker. No, it should be called the Phoenix Tomahawk now. The Phoenix Tomahawk slowly flew into Thor's hand. Thor lifted it up. A raging flame ignited on his body. Phoenix Force, Cosmic Thunder, two completely different powerful forces, appeared on the same person for the first time. At this moment, Thor became the King of the Phoenix, the King from the Flames. Lord of Thunder, God of Fire, King of Phoenix. This is the eruption of the power of thunder, the venting of the fury of the flames, the earth trembles constantly, and the volcano begins to erupt. It's time to let those who plot against us pay the price. No respond. Looking back, Chin had fallen asleep leaning on his shoulder. Her strength is far from being able to control the Phoenix Force, and she is too tired on this day. Thor said softly, You have a good rest, the next thing, leave it to me. The fierce battle in Asgard has reached its most dangerous stage. The immortal Surta has no scruples at all, no matter how restrained he is still slowly approaching the ground. In desperation, Frigga had no choice but to prepare a second plan transfer everyone. On Asgard Square, Frigga is asking Heimdall, How is it? Have the people evacuated? There is still the last batch, and all of them can board the spaceship in a few minutes. Loki whispered, Mother, are we really going to give up here? Frigg sighed. Son, Asgard was never a place. Where our people are, there is Asgard. That's what they said, but the gloomy look in the eyes of the people who boarded the spaceship couldn't be concealed. You can't stop the great prophecy. The battle in the air finally came to an end. With the roar of Serta, huge amounts of a sword slashed heavily. Hela was hit from the front, and the night sky sword in front of him failed to withstand the high altitude. Boom. The hard ground was smashed into a human form, and Hela crawled out of it in a mess, panting heavily. In the air, Jane Foster raised Mjolnir and threw it towards Serta. Mjolnir smashed heavily towards Serta's face like a meteor, and the thunder light overflowing from the hammer even split the thick surrounding flame elements, rushing straight towards Serta. This is enough to blow the land apart. Serta's response was very simple. It grabbed Carol, who was swimming around it, and moved forward. Boom. The devastating blow hit Carol's head so hard that he was stunned by the Captain Marvel double star defense. Carol. CNM. Serta's attack did not stop. Taking advantage of the moment when Jane was stunned, he slapped it with his palm. Boom. F. There is another human-shaped pit on the ground of Asgard Square. Boom. Serta's huge body landed on the ground of Asgard, and there was a roar of landslides and cracks. At this moment of witnessing history, its chaos mentality returned to normal. Looking at Asgard in front of him, he laughed heartily. Ragnarok, the great prophecy, has finally arrived. Lifting up the Twilight Sword, the power of the flames gathered above. See, this is power. And power is the only law. Countless years of waiting, finally waiting for this moment, Serta roared arrogantly. I am the end of Asgard. The sword that condensed Serta's greatest strength pierced the ground heavily with unstoppable power. On the spaceship not far away, countless Asgardians couldn't help closing their eyes. Frigga turned her head away. Loki looked complicated. Hela's eyes were dull. Boom. There was a huge collision sound that shook the entire universe, and the Twilight Sword stopped at the moment the power touched the ground, unable to store any more. Thor embraced the unconscious Jean Grey with one hand, and held up the battle axe with the other, blocking the blow to destroy the world. A portal appeared in front of him. Behind the door was Thor's room, and Thor sent Chin into it. For the current him, he can already ignore all restrictions and open teleportation at any time. After sending Chin away, Thor looked up at Serta. You talk too much nonsense. Don't you know that the villain died because of talking too much? Push your hands toward a simple dirt pick above. Under Serta's horrified eyes, he found that his hands could no longer hold the Twilight Sword, and huge amounts of the divine sword slipped out of his hand and flew into the sky. No. Why huge amounts of body jumped up and grabbed the Twilight Sword that flew into the air. As soon as he lowered his head, he saw Thor flying towards him. Thunder and flames rose from Thor's body at the same time, and Serta suddenly had a feeling. This flame seems to be stronger than the eternal fire? It had no time to think about it, because the tomahawk was already coming towards it. Phoenix Force and Thor's power, the two strongest forces in the universe, erupted at the same time. Serta only had time to block the Twilight Sword in front of him. Unparalleled power swept across the quartet. King of Asgard, Thor, the king returns. In the depths of the universe, countless ancient beings opened their eyes almost at the same time. With deep disbelief in their eyes, they murmured, Odin. Then, he shook his head again. No, not Odin, there is another power. Stronger than Odin. Crack. According to legend, on the Twilight Sword that destroyed Asgard, a crack appeared and quickly spread to the entire blade. Serta was still in a daze, not even noticing a thunderbolt descending from the sky. There was no vigor and power, and there was no thunder that shook the world. I only saw a purple light flash in the sky, like the most common lightning, hitting Serta on the back. Hey. Serta let out the most miserable howl of pain in his life, and everyone saw that the flames at the hit part were happy and never ignited again. The so-called infinite recovery ability of the eternal fire is also relative. When the opponent's power level is far beyond it, the recovery will be suppressed. Carol murmured. How do you feel? This guy cheats all the time. How dare you say I'm cheating? Thor's voice came. Leave this to me, you go to the earth. The opponent's attack is not just Asgard. After speaking, he rushed to Serta's direction again. This time, he decided to wipe out the opponent completely. Seeing that Thor was holding a battle axe, and the flames and thunder that carried the sky were attacking his face, Serta quickly blocked it with one hand. On Earth, the Hulk has been kicked out of the shit. Bang 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 bang. Thanos' military boxing has turned into Wing Chun boxing, hitting Hulk like a pile in the face. I have to say that Liu Shang Hulk is really resistant to beating. Boom. A thunderous explosion sounded across countless spaces and reached the earth. Thanos raised his head thoughtfully. Hulk was thrown away, turned back into Bruce Banner, and was rescued by the Avengers, and he didn't care. He felt that this force was too familiar. Even in his brutally bulldozed universe, the young king of Asgard was one of the strongest opponents he had ever faced. There are too many variables in this world, and the strength of the Avengers is unexpectedly strong. Just like the magician who cured the water, the witch who defeated the nightmare, and even the Hulk who was beaten by himself are much stronger than imagined. On the far edge of the battlefield, the glowing Captain Marvel and Jane Foster holding Mjolnir are approaching. Thanos can tell at a glance that these two are stronger than ordinary Avengers. And that, the King of Asgard who just awakened the power of Odin and another unheard of ancient power. Right now, I seem to have the upper hand, but that's because the opponent's most powerful force is going to deal with other places. Once all the forces gather, he will have no chance of winning. The nightmare was completely wiped away by Wanda amid the screams of unwillingness. Meanwhile, Thanos sensed it. Dormammu was gone, Serta was at stake. The only chance of winning is to use the last move. Thanos reached into the armor and took out a dilapidated glove. All 6 holes on the glove were empty. Many people saw this scene, but they didn't know what he was going to do. Thanos whispered to himself. Many years ago, I have collected all the gems. However, I found that I don't need their power at all. To destroy the universe, my army is enough. So, I used the power of the original stone to destroy the original stone. And now, I find that I finally need to use the power of infinite gems. These words made people confused. You have lost all your gems, how many more are you talking about? However, at the next moment, Thanos took out a full-body emerald gemstone and embedded it on the glove. Here it is, the time gem of this universe. Fortunately, now I have mastered the time. The power of time flows, and in the other 5 empty grooves, the outlines of gemstones are looming. The Avengers were frightened, and they rushed to Thanos desperately, but Thanos' Legion tried their best to resist. The power of one time gem is far from enough to affect 5 gems of the same level, but I restored them to the moment they were destroyed, enough for me to use once is enough. After he finished speaking, the outlines of the 5 infinite gems suddenly solidified, and then trembled violently, as if would break apart at any moment. A red figure forcibly got rid of the enemies beside him, rushed forward, intending to snatch the gem. Thanos kicked him flying. Mr. Stark, I know you can develop a device that carries the power of gems, but I won't give you a chance. Thanos finished with a sneer, and raised his hands high, just like the scene in the movie. I am destiny. Pada, boom. After releasing their power, the 5 rough stones exploded. But the light above the time gem dimmed in an instant. Its power has been overdrawn, and it will not be able to recover for a while. But that's depressing enough. This Thanos is not the original Thanos who cultivated his health, but also a real murderer. His purpose is not only to destroy half of the balance of the universe, but also to completely wipe out life. With the sound of snapping fingers, everyone present was stunned. They found that a mysterious force was covering them, and many people even felt that they were about to disappear. Everyone is at a loss, they don't even know what else they can do now. Except Wanda. Wanda's thoughts went back to the past, and what Thor once said to her seemed to be in her ears. Your power is one of the oldest and most powerful forces in the universe. It's not just as simple as firing a few red energy balls. The most powerful chaos force you have is alter reality. Your potential is far beyond mine. When your ability is fully released, every word you say will come true. Just like, if you say that the Earth is the center, then the entire universe will revolve around the Earth. No, it's not the ability to alter reality, it's the ability to play God. I trust you. She closed her eyes, feeling the power surging in her body. The outbreak just now allowed her to independently kill such an existence as Nightmare. And now, she needs to explode again. Everyone, don't disappear. Chaos force boiled up, but soon she felt dizzy, which was the backlash from alter reality. Failed? Wanda, with your current ability, you can't change too large a cause and effect. Strange's voice came. The power of the 6 infinite gems, the cause and effect of life in the entire universe, you can't bear it. While speaking, his feet had already started to melt slowly. You must reverse all this without affecting the purpose of the other party's snapping fingers as much as possible. Wanda. Reversing the ending of the disappearance of the cosmic beings without compromising Thanos' purpose? But isn't Thanos' purpose to destroy all living things? No, Thanos' ideal is to destroy the universe with his own power, and only when he can't, he will use gems. There is a difference. Thanos and his dark army had stopped the movement of their hands. At the last second, everyone will disappear, and this universe will become dead silent. At this time, a cold female voice sounded in the ears of all creatures in the universe. At this moment, there is no one with super abilities in the world. A miracle happened. Countless people who were about to be reduced to ashes suddenly began to slowly recover. No one knows why, the effect of snapping fingers disappeared. Only the Avengers know that this is Wanda using another way of sacrifice, instead of snapping fingers. Just like in a fairy tale, a kind witch sleeps for 100 years to replace the curse of death. The Valkyries began to shake one by one, and they had lost the ability to maintain balance in the sky. Fortunately, their mounts were all winged Pegasus, which finally brought them to the ground safely. Then, there are Cattle, Jane Foster and other super ability flying in the air. They became mortals and lost their flight ability and fell from the sky. The Marauder ship picked them up. Little Spider-Man Peter Parker, half of his body turned into ashes, returned to normal. He looked at his hands in disbelief, and tried to launch Cobweb, but there was no response. Bruce Banner calling, "Hulk? Hulk?" No respond. Wanda's strength was overdrawn and she passed out. As for whether she is Scarlet Witch or not, no one knows. Stark's eyes widened. This scene was exactly the same as what he had seen in the illusion. Thanos was a little dazed. However, he did not expect that this witch turned the fate of the entire universe around by herself, and prevented the snapping fingers that gathered the power of the 6 gems. No, she hasn't changed anything, because he and his army are not from this world. And when he snapped his fingers, he didn't include people on his side from the very beginning. In a universe without superpowers, what else can prevent its own destruction? Thanos laughed maniacally. Asgard, Serta was thinking about it a moment ago, but he was beaten so badly at this moment. No. I will definitely be back. Boom. The flames rolled back, the sky and the earth turned pale, and Serta's huge body cracked and turned into a crown of flames. Is it over? Loki asked in a daze. Serta, the initiator of the prophesied Ragnarok, who was still invincible just now, can be so vulnerable. Not that simple. Thor shook his head. Its power comes from the eternal fire. As long as the eternal fire is not extinguished, it can be resurrected infinitely. As if confirming Thor's words, a mass of flames was burning above the crown, and then a silhouette with huge amounts of slowly stood up. How the hell do you play this? Frigga beside him sighed. Your father was also facing this situation back then, so he could only choose to take away the eternal fire in the end. Even so, it didn't stop Serta's rebirth. He has weaknesses. Thor's voice came. Absolute immortality does not exist, even the so-called infinite rough stone has its limit. Serta, who seems to be immortal, actually has every resurrection. When consuming the energy of the eternal fire, when the rate of depletion exceeds recovery, it can be completely wiped out. Forehead. Loki was completely speechless. It's extremely difficult and dangerous to kill this big guy once, so it's not against my peace to say this. Roar. Serta is alive again. The tomahawk struck his newly raised head. Crack. Click. The sound of the body being torn apart sounded like a shattering. Huge amounts of body was split in half from head to toe. Serta is dead again. A cold voice suddenly came. At this moment, there is no one with super abilities in the world. With these words, many people's faces changed. Asgard is a race where all citizens are soldiers. Even the most ordinary civilians have physical fitness far beyond ordinary people. It is not an exaggeration to say that all employees have super abilities. At this moment, ordinary people, and those magicians of Asgard, who feel clearer without their magic. The voice just now, is it Wanda? But why did Wanda do this? What happened? Thor believes that Wanda does not have blackened, and her curse must take away some important purpose. Serta turned into the fire crown again, and Thor took advantage of the gap to think to himself. Of all the people present, only he and Serta were not affected. Serta is because he is an ally of Thanos and was not within the scope of the curse in the first place. And Thor is because now he has surpassed the range that infinite gems can affect. Brother, it's not good. My power is gone. Loki wailed loudly, and he found that his magic was gone. For a god, what could be more terrifying than this? Thor didn't even turn his head. It's okay. Anyway, your strength is no different from nothing. Thor inadvertently stabbed hard. Loki expressed that there is nothing to love in life, and he almost wants to show his ambition with death. But he was really afraid of death, so he looked around and continued. But, brother, are you not worried at all? I just saw that everyone in Asgard has become immortal, and the same is probably true on the other side of the earth. Don't worry? Thor was silent for a moment, looked at Serta who was resurrected again, and said in a low voice, you will never understand that as an Avenger, the most important thing is to believe in your teammates. Loki rolled his eyes. That's your teammate, not my teammate. Your teammates beat me up every time they see me, expect me to trust them? On the Earth battlefield, the situation is not as difficult as imagined. Thanos' army has been greatly attrition, and most of the Avengers side does not belong to the category of super abilities. The Marauders in the air, the Nova Corps and other troops can fight normally, and the Wakanda soldiers with the largest number of ground troops are also technologically advanced. Among the Avengers, most of them actually rely on technology. Just like little Spider-Man, who lost his super ability, can still rely on the steel spider battlesuit to fight, so does Black Panther. Flying too. The only thing missing is the top-level strength. Stark was silent for a moment, then whispered, "Friday, call Mark 86. Boss, the Mark 86 has not passed the test and is not ready for battle." Friday reminded. "No one is ready from the start." Stark showed no hesitation. "Start it." Unlike other armors designed in recent years, the latest Mark 86 is not composed of nano-elements, it is still in the laboratory. Boom. In the Stark building in the city center in the distance, several beams of light broke through the roof and flew towards the battlefield. Black Dwarf charged towards Stark, clearing the way for the boss. Although he has no IQ, he also knows that the current Avengers are centered on Stark. Boom. The streamer in the sky quickly descended over Stark, covering his whole body in an instant. Facing the Black Dwarf in front, it blasted out. Black Dwarf raised his huge axe to the ground, but he didn't expect that the thick battle axe was directly hit by Dongchen. Huge amounts of explosions engulfed it, and Black Dwarf flew upside down with his body scorched black. If it weren't for its tenacious vitality, it would have been killed in one blow. "I'm going. So strong." Many people exclaimed, and the group carefully examined the brand new battle box. Unlike Hope's red gold-rimmed armor, this armor is mainly black, supplemented by dark blue stripes. And the material of the battle armor, without the texture of metal, is not even like the material on the Earth. As this. The body of a god? Thanos saw the essence of the battle armor at a glance, and Furui Webo's face also showed a trace of interest. "It's kind of interesting. You are indeed a person cursed by knowledge. You are more interesting than the Iron Man in my world. I respect my head is getting more and more interesting. You can try." In the armor, came the voice of Stark. He raised his wrist, and two dark blue energy rays roared towards Thanos. Thanos smirked. "Come on." Boom, Thanos immediately flew upside down and fell to the ground. Stark jumped high and punched down. This is the ultimate weapon and the strongest means he can use. If this armor existed 5 years ago, the war would have ended long ago. 5 years ago, Stark came to me with a huge corpse. He said that he wanted to research a set of the strongest armor that could truly protect the Earth, and he needed my help. Bruce Banner explained to some people who stepped back temporarily. Stark told me that the materials on the Earth are limited after all. Even the hardest vibranium can be torn apart by Thanos. He needs stronger materials. So, I found the body of a celestial race. It is said that it was brought back from Carrie Planet. Carol nodded and said, "That's it. The Kree did store the corpse of a celestial race. The accuser Ronan, who once intended to invade the Earth, bathed in the blood of the celestial. Unexpectedly, how could someone be so crazy, using the body of a god as a material?" Although the celestial armor is called Mark 86, its strength is actually far superior to the conventional Mark series. Its strength has already broken through the limit that ordinary people can achieve, and it has the power to destroy heaven and earth with every move. Boom, a punch to Thanos' head, and Thanos grabbed it. Boom. A heavy cannon exploded in the palm of his hand. Thanos was blasted instantly. Stark grabbed Thanos, flew high and smashed him to a boulder. Boom. In the scene, Stark almost overpowers Thanos. "Can you win?" someone asked. Bruce Banner sighed. If it was Thanos in the past, Stark might really have the power to fight. But now Thanos, the strength is far beyond our imagination. Even Hulk, who is 100 times stronger than the regular Hulk, is no match. He and Hulk are essentially the same person, and their consciousness and memory are shared. He knows better than anyone how strong Thanos is now. The current advantage is only the restraint of the armor attribute. After all, the armor of the gods has another name: anti-Thanos armor. Asgard and Serta continue the fate of infinite death, and the mind that has finally recovered is about to be wiped out. "Man of Asgard, you have committed a heinous crime." The resurrected Serta roared angrily, knowing that he had become a joke. Serta, which exists on the basis of the eternal fire, loses some strength due to energy consumption every time it is revived, but Thor becomes more and more. With the eruption of the power of thunder and the venting of the wrath of the flames, the earth trembled constantly, and the volcano began to erupt. Serta's body was in the center of the storm, constantly being torn apart and reborn again and again. Compared with Odin's approach of capturing the eternal fire, Thor chose to never cause future troubles, and let the gods Huang Wei completely cease to exist. As Serta's strength is constantly falling, Thor's power is getting stronger and stronger, and the cycle of life and death is getting faster and faster, experiencing rebirth and death almost every second. And every time it is resurrected, its body becomes smaller than before. There has never been a true immortality in this world. Equipped with the armor of the gods, Stark is even stronger than Hulk, and its design seems to exist to restrain Thanos. A punch knocked Thanos over, and then a powerful ray shot towards him. Thanos fought back, punching Stark hard under the arm. But he forgot for a while, for the battle armor, many so-called vital points are no longer vital points, but will become traps deliberately set by the opponent. Boom. With a punch down, there was a muffled sound. As a result, Thanos soon found himself unable to draw his fist. Stark grabbed Thanos with his backhand. Rockets shot out from under his feet, and in an instant he reached an altitude of tens of thousands of meters, throwing Thanos high. As a pure fighter who can't fly, falling to the ground is a very bad experience. No matter how strong Thanos is, he can only rage impotently in the air. Boom. 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 Laser cannons and missiles frantically output to Thanos as if they don't want money. The purple potato essence who was in the air couldn't even dodge, and became a living target. Black Dwarf on the side got up and raised his giant axe to help Thanos. No need, let him play. Ebony Maw waved his hand to stop him. This strange armor can indeed cause a lot of trouble for Thanos, but it is impossible to beat him. No one knows Thanos' strength better than him, a dog-headed military strategist. And Stark's design is only aimed at Thanos 5 years ago, not the Super Emperor who destroyed the universe in front of him. Boom. Thanos hit the ground heavily, and a huge amount of human-shaped pit appeared on the ground. The scene fell silent. Without warning, a thick arm protruded from the pit, and a palm slapped on the edge, and Thanos popped out instantly. The disheveled Thanos looked gloomy, and although he didn't speak, everyone could see that he was suppressing his anger forcibly. A moment of carelessness was beaten into such a mess by a mortal. He grabbed the tattered helmet on top of his head, pulled it off, and walked quickly towards Stark. A missile flew towards him trailing long black smoke. Thanos grabbed it and slapped himself hard on the chest. Boom. Flames scatter in all directions, and a specially made missile that is as powerful as a small nuclear bomb is actually hardwired by Thanos. Is this the strength of Thanos in extreme anger situations? Stark flew up into the air, and punched down hard with the help of gravity. The injectors under the feet, on the back, and behind the arms were activated at the same time, pushing a punch towards Thanos. Thanos showed a ferocious smile, and when the Iron Fist was about to smear his face, his right arm struck out like lightning. There was a loud noise like a landslide, and Stark was dumbfounded looking at the cracks on the armor. Before he could react, a huge fist was getting bigger and bigger in his sight, and he quickly raised his hands and put them in front of his eyes. This hasty resistance made him fly upside down like a kite with a broken string. Just got up from the ground, Thanos' pursuit arrived. There was an extremely fierce battle. The sound of roaring explosions, and the sound of metal tearing could be heard endlessly. Stark fights against the demon that once destroyed the entire universe with one person. A real mortal body, comparable to a god. Boom. Thanos clapped his palm and grabbed the reactor in his chest. It's over, it's useless to delay. An extremely cold voice came. Click. The reactor shattered in response, and then the light of the armor of the Celestial Group went out. The reactor was shattered, and now Stark was trapped inside the armor and could not move. Thanos grabs the armor and lifts it off, exposing Stark's head. The expected look of despair didn't appear. Stark spat. Fool. Thanos is so cold that he issued the winner's declaration. I have conquered, tyrannized, and slaughtered for so many years, and I have never mixed personal emotions. But now I want to let you know how I will treat you stubborn, boring, and such a planet. I will enjoy this process, very much fun. Yeah? An abrupt voice came from behind. Everything you say can happen. The premise is, without me. Thanos turned slowly, looking at the king of Asgard who had impressed him so much. With his battle axe in one hand, Thor raised a flaming crown with the other and dropped it on the ground. Kangdang. The crown fell to pieces. This time, don't even think about resurrecting. The skies suddenly darkened, and the Avengers raised their heads and saw a large number of various spaceships, which were reinforcements coming from various places. In the sky, a figure wearing a devil's two-horned helmet appeared, and shouted impassionedly towards the bottom. Your savior is here. Loki said, I am a scene person, born for small and big scenes. Thanos didn't even look at Loki, who was pretending to be fierce. He took a deep breath, and said in a deep voice to Dormammu, Surta, are they all dead? What do you think? Thor sneered. I underestimated you, the majestic world destroyer, actually played with so many tricks, and planned so many tricks at the same time. Thanos showed an unreadable smile on his face. To each other. Unfortunately, I also underestimated you, or I underestimated you in this world. My plan is to treat you as Odin. Then what else do you have to say? Thanos shook his head. I may not lose. If you want my head, it depends on how many lives you exchange. With a stern look, he waved his hand and said loudly, the whole army will act, and cause the greatest damage at all costs. Kill. In an instant, the Dark Legion frantically charged at all enemies in sight as if they had been slapped with chicken blood. Facing this kind of frenzied desperate fighting, without the leadership of a super ability user, the Avengers Alliance suffered heavy losses in just a moment. Apparently, Thanos, who is seeing the situation as gone, is trying to make a last-ditch effort, and even if he fails, he will not let his opponent feel better. However, Thor stops it. "You have no chance," Thor shouted. The power of Odin and Phoenix Force instantly swept across the entire battlefield, and the sky was covered with flames and thunder. Boom. Boom. Violent explosions resounded through the sky, and so did Chi-Rita's soldiers. Regardless of whether it is the Vanguard or the Guard, at this moment they are all like firecrackers being ignited, flying into the sky with a bang, and exploding into a blood mist the next moment. The sky was full of thunder, and Chi-Rita Air Force and Leviathan Giant Kun were shrouded in lightning storms, and they turned into coke before they could even scream. The violent explosion lasted for less than half a minute, and the entire battlefield seemed to be continuous. Within the range of sight, there was no trace of the Dark Army. Only the Black Order was left stunned around Thanos. So many people, just gone? Thanos didn't make a shot, and he didn't have a chance to. Because when Thor destroyed the armies, he didn't even move half a step, only the energy in his body was released. Now you. The Phoenix Force condensed on the battle axe, the axe smashed in the air out of thin air, a beam of axe hundreds of meters wide across the sky, and the sound came in an instant. Not good. Thanos' heart moved, and he was about to dodge immediately. Cold sweat dripped from his forehead in an instant, and he was shocked to find that no matter how he dodged, the axe light would hit his waist accurately and cut him in half. Click. At the critical moment, Black Order stood in front of him together, and Ebony Maw even waved his hand, dragging Black Dwarf to the front. Ah! With one move, the endless Dark Army is destroyed. With one move, the mighty Black Order is destroyed. Everyone's eyes widen. As a mortal, it is difficult to imagine this kind of real divine power. What's more, now Thor has surpassed Odin, he is the veritable strongest in this universe. Thanos' face was stiff, and Thor only appeared for less than a minute, and he completely reversed the whole situation of the battle, making his dominance completely a mirror image. In this world, there are too many accidents. The Hulk who transformed for the second time, the Iron Man who has long been in the armor of the gods, the mysterious man who eliminated Dormammu, the solo killer Nightmare, and even the witch who changed the snap of infinite gems, and one more, Thor with a completely different trajectory. All variables exist around him. Thanos sighed. He knew that he was no opponent, and there was no chance of a comeback, but he still wouldn't catch it without a fight. Because he is Thanos. The Thanos who destroyed the entire universe. If you want to kill me, then come on, ha 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 ha. Thanos laughed wildly and rushed forward, raising a pair of iron fists high and fiercely at Thor. Thor raised his battle axe, and the two of them crossed each other. Thor's voice suddenly came. The reason why I lost in another world must be because I didn't behead it. Thanos froze for a moment, and felt a pain in his neck before he could react. Finally, in a vague consciousness, I heard a voice. This time, I went for the purchase. Boom. Headless corpses fell to the ground. Phoenix Force blazes from the axe and burns Thanos to ashes, ensuring he is completely dead. Thor watched Thanos' body burn, but he didn't have much joy in victory. The nightmare that was once suppressed in his heart, Thanos, who was regarded as the enemy of his life, finally became history at this moment. After more than 20 years of hard work, I finally changed my destiny. The armor on Stark's body slowly opened, allowing him to come out. When he came to Thor, he murmured in a low voice, "Is this difficult war finally over? I have lost all my family fortunes. The drone belches, the Iron Legion is belching, Mark 85 hiccup, now even the last armor of the Celestial Group is gone. Oh, this is really sad. I was going to use this to challenge you, but I didn't expect it to be dismantled by Zhujing." The more Stark talked, the more excited he became, and he was even unmatched in the end, until Thor gave him a big bear hug. Yes, it's all over. Yes, it's over. After this battle, the entire 9 realms will become a forbidden zone in the universe. The real power hidden by the Earth is one of the best in the entire universe, which is why it can be peaceful in the universe for so many years. The reason why there are continuous disasters here is because the Ancient One and Odin have passed away one after another, and the 2 major Asgardians have been lost. And now, Thor's presence has been filled. He will be the new uncrowned king of the universe. This is really the best news I've heard today. A strange-sounding voice sounded, and the two of them followed the prestige and found a small man less than 1.6 meters tall with a somewhat familiar face. And the most eye-catching is the half-star shield tightly held in his hand. You are the son of Steve's family. No, I don't seem to have heard when the captain had a son. No, no. This guy actually let a miner go to the battlefield? Stark's poisonous tongue attack. Well, regardless of his heroic actions as Iron Man, Stark is a very annoying person on weekdays. But Thor showed a nostalgic smile. I suddenly feel that you look more pleasing to the eye with this look, Steve. Captain America, who has been injected with super soldier serum, is essentially also judged to be a super ability user. Steve smiled freely. Maybe it's because the world doesn't need an old man like me to fight anymore. Falcon Sam folded his wings and landed beside him, looked up and down, and suddenly said, "Congratulations, Steve, you can finally retire. However, the only thing that makes me feel sad is that in my world, no, there's Captain America again." Steve smiled faintly. Everyone can be the captain. Hey little guy from Brooklyn, how are you? Bucky with the vibranium arm comes running up. Thor couldn't stand the two people's flamboyance, so he turned his head to avoid it, and looked at Strange who was not far away. Even without the power of magic, this guy still looks coquettish in a cloak. Thor whispered, "Is this the kind of ending you saw?" Strange nodded. "Yes, if it is said, it will not exist." Thor understood. If Doctor Strange had told himself in advance, or done other things to stop it, it would definitely have a different result. Among other things, he would definitely not allow Dormammu to come. However, if he took care of Modu in advance, stopping Dormammu and Serta at the same time, it seems to be beneficial to the battle situation, but in fact, the war with Thanos will be more difficult than it is now. It's very simple. Without the promotion in the dark space, without the double increase of the power of Odin and the power of Phoenix, even if he can defeat Thanos, it will not be so easy. After all, this isn't Blademaster 2014, it's Thanos the Emperor from the end of time. This is not a computer game where you will follow the strategy if you know the strategy. Even if you know the ending is better, you may not dare to take the risk. Most of them will still choose to be on the safe side, and die slowly with Fa and Mie. Thor no longer takes care of Strange, and dealing with this magic stick, he will have to be sold by him if he is not careful. Turned around. Just took 2 steps, suddenly thought of something, turned back and smiled. Suddenly remembered, I seem to have solved 2 big troubles for you, right? As far as I know, whether it is Dormammu or Nightmare, it should be Kamar. Did Taj handle it? Strange shrugged. No, it's not up to you. What my lover has done is no different from what I have done. You should give me some reward anyway? An infinite gems Oriole. The time gem that I swore to protect, I gave it away without blinking an eye. When did Doctor Strange become so generous? No, it's not that he's generous. In fact, this guy is very cunning. He has no magic power now. Even if time gem is in his hands, he can't use it, and he doesn't have the ability to protect it. In Thor's hands, he can use gems to do more things. What's more, this time gem is in Thor's pocket as a trophy for killing Thanos. Strange is absolutely sure that once any good thing is in the hands of this uncle, it will definitely not come back, let alone infinite gems. Thor is not the kind of iron and stupid Thanos, because he can't use the rough stone, so it was destroyed? Even if it is used to make diamond rings for the girls around me, it would be great. Well, in fact, even if it is mind gem, Thor does not intend to return. The spirit of vision is the superposition of several complex structures: Jarvis, Ultron, Stark, Bruce Banner, rough stone. All these are mixed together and interact with each other. You mean, vision isn't just the rough stone? Stark asked suspiciously. I mean, if we figured out a way to get the rough stone out and just revive Vision, then he would still be him, maybe even better. I've heard that Vision often has headaches because he can't control the power of the rough stone. Then, how should we operate? Although Stark seriously suspected that this guy was planning to steal the mind gem, he had to admit that what he said was true. Besides, the reason why Stark wants to resurrect Vision is because he regards Vision as his family, not for a rough stone, even if it is infinite gems. No need to do anything. As Thor said, he drew casually, and a space door appeared in midair and Vision's headless corpse flew out of it. Time gem emits a faint green light, acting on it. Vision's body turned red again, and the head that had been twisted by Thanos reappeared, including the green head. The only difference is that there is no rough stone on the forehead. Vision, how are you? Stark lifted him up, with a worried look on his face. Feels good. 2 Valkyries are tending to a comatose Wanda. Thor stepped forward, His Majesty. Valkyrie saluted him respectfully, with a trace of worry in her eyes. As the most powerful force in Asgard, the Valkyrie exists as the guard of the new Asgard castle on weekdays. But now, they have lost their divine power and are no longer qualified for this job, in case His Majesty no longer needs them. Thor saw what they were thinking, smiled slightly, and patted one of the Valkyrie's shoulders. Bren Hill, do you know that besides fighting, Valkyrie has another duty? Another duty. The 2 Valkyries were at a loss at first, but when they saw Thor's narrow smile, they immediately understood what he meant, and suddenly became a little at a loss. The two looked at each other, and then said in unison, "You are the king, you have the final say." Thor waved his hand to let them step back first, picked up Wanda himself, and checked her situation. Wanda's body is seriously overdrawn, and now she is no longer as vigorous as before, just like a weak ordinary person. Definitely, no one can treat her as an ordinary person. This is the Scarlet Witch who killed Nightmare alone and almost reversed the 6-gem Thanos snapping his fingers by himself. Mind Gem levitates Thor beside her to put it away. Most people dare not touch Mind Gem casually, otherwise they will be affected by it if they are not careful, just like Loki back then. But Thor has no such concerns at all. Wanda felt something, slowly opened her eyes, saw that it was Thor, and forced a smile. "Did I screw everything up?" "No, you're doing great." Thor rubbed her head and comforted her softly. Wanda suddenly showed a relieved smile, leaned against Thor, closed her eyes and fell into a deep sleep. Drip. Congratulations to the host for completing the task, the Witch's Growth Plan. Get the reward. Skill, Reversal Infinite. Reversal Infinity. Active skill, the reaction effect of all alter reality related abilities. When the reality setting is modified by abnormal forces, the reality can be restored to its original state within 1 hour through the Reversal Infinity skill. Well, wouldn't a world without super abilities be too boring? At the end of 2022, Nadawi. A golden glove was placed before Thor. Dwarf Wong Ai-Kui looked at the freshly baked Infinity Gauntlet, with a look of nostalgia on his face. "Many years ago, your father, the former King Odin, commissioned me to create a pair of gloves that can control the 6 limit gems. But later, he discovered that the set it is almost impossible to complete the original stone. On the contrary, if 2 original stones are too close, it will cause disaster, so they are shelved. And the unfinished product is stored in the treasury of Asgard. And now, time has passed, Odin has passed away, and the infinite gems finally belong to Asgard. This may be the arrangement of fate." Thor shook his head slightly. "No, it's not fate, but my arrangement. Put on the gauntlet and mount the 6 infinite gems on it." How many powerful gamma rays spread throughout his body. However, soon, the gamma rays seemed to have touched some terrifying existence, and instantly rewinded. Ai-Kui's expression was complicated. When the 6 rough stones gather in the Infinity Gauntlet, it only takes one snap of your fingers to destroy the entire universe. Now, I hope you can properly use this power. "I will." Thor nodded. "Welcome back, Fox." In the castle of New Asgard, the voice of the Red Queen sounded. Thor looked at her still somewhat youthful phantom, and couldn't help asking, "Do you want to be human?" The Red Queen froze for a moment, then kept shaking her head. "Forget it, no matter how precious the material is, the body made out of it is always flawed, and I don't want to become like Vision. Vision is still the strongest super robot in the world. Why is it so unpopular as you said?" But Thor hadn't planned for it in the first place. Phoenix Force. From the original universe, born at the beginning of all things, Chaos is immortal, eternal but impermanent, the sun of the universe. It is the embodiment of life and spiritual power in the original universe, symbolizing life and emotion. And what you lack now is life and emotion. The Red Queen's voice became excited. "Really? But, can you control this power? I feel that your use of it is more about attacking." "It was not possible before, but now it is possible." Thor raised his gloved right hand. "From now on, I am Destiny." "Oh, wait." The Red Queen suddenly remembered something, and hurriedly stopped her. "Daw." Thor snapped his fingers directly, and continued. "Well, when you become a real person in the future, you will no longer be just an artificial intelligence. Definitely, the abilities possessed by artificial intelligence have not been erased, and you are still a human being. The butler of the New Asgard. Definitely, you can no longer be called the Queen. Natalia and the others will have bad associations, so let's call you Alice. Eh?" The Red Queen's slender figure slowly solidifies, facing Thor's eyes, stunned. "Where are your clothes?" Thor was blasted out of the hall, and sat helplessly on the ground. Natalia came and sat down next to him, chuckled lightly and said, "You deserve it." Thor rolled his eyes. "Can you blame me? Stark didn't prepare clothes when he made Vision." Natalia glared at him. "Vision's prototype Jarvis is a bad old man," the Red Queen. "No, Alice is still a little girl, can this be compared? Why are you here at this time? Aren't you training those little guys?" Thor changed the subject. Natalia shook her head and said, "I have graduated long ago, and I can go out to perform tasks. You, the island owner, are not responsible." Mission. Thanos is dead. Who would jump out like this? Thor wondered. Who knows? Anyway, in my opinion, as long as there are people in this world who have desires, the chaos will never end. A while ago, Stark Industries was in trouble, and an actor named Quentin Baker actually planned to seize power, and as a result, 10 groups of people were directly crushed to death by Stark. Torin snorted. Mysterious guest is really drifting away. Stark is thinking about making troubles before he dies. Is anyone really as easy to fool as little Spider-Man? As the sun sets, Thor stands at the highest point of the castle, Jean Grey, quietly watching the sunset with him. I once said that when I am strong enough, I can open channels from different planes and allow you to return to your own world. Thor suddenly said. In this way, you can see your relatives. Chin was stunned for a moment, and after a long silence, she said in a low voice, but, do I still have family members? My father, maybe not disturbing him is the best result. As for the professor, he only took me in because I am a mutant, and it's very unstable. Thor stared at her closely and smiled. So what is your plan? Go back, definitely want to go back. Chin Li definitely had to say. But, I want you to accompany me. Ha ha, Thor laughed. With infinite gems, anytime. Reaching out to hold Chin's hand, the dazzling light on the infinity gauntlet flashed, and the surrounding environment changed instantly. A new journey will begin.